Well, it'd be good if I turned the page so I could read what I wrote.
Turn the page.
Well, a very good Saturday morning to you, and welcome to the world of confusion. Live from Studio A and inside the Sugar Shack World Headquarters, it's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we hear about a thing called CellGuard, a battery health monitoring system. You're going to be listening, EV owners? This is all about you.
Yep.
Jeff has a segment on affordable 60s muscle machines. Conrad has the racing calendar. We'll take a look at the car clinic as well and have the stories making automotive news headlines this week. We're going to stick it in just ahead on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us. And we've got a full lineup today. We were talking about what are we going to do next weekend, because next weekend is a holiday weekend.
Memorial weekend.
What are we going to do? We don't have any guests because everybody's out doing stuff.
Yep.
The full lineup, is that like one of those things where you walk the prisoners through the suspects?
Full lineup,
full lineup?
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what came to mind.
Well, and that would come to your mind.
It would.
Yeah, because we're all basically former prisoners.
Attica.
We're prisoners in our own minds.
That's right. All right.
And our first prisoner is...
Yes, exactly. Joe Holsworth, he is the founder of a company called Metis Engineering. And Joe, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Glad you could join us. Thanks so much. And please don't pay any attention to the fact that we have no clue what we're doing here.
But we've been not doing it for 13 years.
Has it been 13?
And we've been given awards for it,
By the way, we just passed our anniversary.
We did. We didn't even talk about it.
May the 7th, 2011 was our first broadcast.
Like passing a kidney stone.
It hurts.
It is that. So Joe is the founder of a company called Metis Engineering. I said that. And got a product called CellGuard. Joe, tell us what this is. Explain it to everybody, because I don't really understand it all.
Yeah, sure. So the sensor is meant to detect the early stages of thermal runaway. So I guess maybe you've seen some things in the news where you see some EVs catching fire. The early stages of that is called cell venting. And this sensor aims to detect the cell venting in order to help reduce the chances of these things catching fire, essentially.
How does it monitor? How does it monitor that sort of thing?
Yeah, so the intention is for it to sit inside battery packs or near. Usually, you have some sort of vent port on these battery packs. Sit inside the battery pack or near the vent port, and it looks for the gases that are emitted by cells when they vent, essentially. So that's how it detects it. It's got other methods of detection too. If it's sitting inside a pack, normally you'll see a pressure increase because of the volume of gas produced by the cell vent. So it can detect it through the gas emitted or through the pressure increase from the gas emitted. It's got several methods, basically.
Well, I don't personally understand how an EV battery works, lithium-ion batteries. Can you give us just a brief overview of that?
Yeah, so in EVs, you've got battery packs, lithium-type battery packs, and normally I say normally, but you'll have something called a battery management system. People might know it as different things, but what it does is it monitors cell voltage and cell temperatures. And when you put your car on charge, or when you're using the car, driving the car, it will be the BMS, or the battery management system, that monitors cell voltages and cell temperatures. And from that, it can infer state of charge and also how fast it can charge itself or how fast it can discharge. Normally, if you're measuring voltages, that can be used to kind of indicate whether you've got a problem in the pack. But basically, pack arrangements are such that I don't want to get too technical, but you can have a lot of cells in parallel, which means that lots of cells put together.
Yes.
A voltage you might have a problem with one of them, which might show up as a voltage, but because you've got a load of them together, essentially the others mask the problems of the one cell that's got an issue. So in the short term, it's harder to detect you've got an issue. The other way of doing it is looking at the temperature of the cells. So that's another thing that the battery management system does. It looks at cell temperatures. But battery management systems don't measure all cell temperatures. They'll typically measure one and, at best 1 and 2. It's a lot less than that normally. So usually you're missing out cells that could be getting hot but not being getting measured by the battery management system. And the reason for that is to reduce the amount of electronics that's in these things, and also to keep the costs down in terms of the manufacturers of these packs.
How many cells does, let's just use the Tesla Model 3, since that seems to be the pretty common one. How many cells are in a Tesla Model 3, for instance? I
don't know the exact number, but hundreds.
Hundreds, okay. I'm just trying to get an idea. Is it, 30 or 100? And obviously you said hundreds. Gotcha. I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I wanted to make a point of, when you talk about battery venting, the first thing that comes to my mind is the lead acid batteries.
That's the same thing.
It's the same kind of thing that's going on in a lead acid battery.
Yep.
So
the outgassing of the battery has to be managed, and I guess what your device does is it measures the outgas. Does it measure what the gas is, or just the pressure of the gas?
So a lot of chemicals are emitted so unlike a lead acid, which will have a port in it and can vent essentially, most lithium cells are never intended to vent. So what happens is that if the cell gets too hot, usually depending on the cell type, so you can have a cylindrical or a pouch, the pressure will build up, and then the cell will eventually vent either through a vent cap on the cylindrical cell, or actually probably tear a little hole in the pouch cell and vent. That then will emit gaseous electrolyte, and the chemicals that come off that are actually very wide ranging. This sensor looks at volatile organic compounds and is sensitive to a whole range of chemicals that are emitted at the cell venting stage. So to target a specific chemistry is quite difficult. It will usually be cross-sensitive to lots of different types of chemistry, basically.
And in a battery that has, let's say, 200 cells in it, is your device measuring each individual cell, or is it measuring the case of the cells and any gases that are happening in the case?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it kind of alludes to how it works. So basically, unlike a battery management system, which will have to actually have temperature sensors on each cell, and voltage, physical connections to the cell to measure voltages, this sensor is non-contact. Because it looks at the gases, it doesn't actually have to be connected to the cell. It just needs to sit inside the battery pack itself.
Okay.
So in terms of I say retrofitting, you're not going to retrofit it to a Tesla, but in terms of being able to fit it to a battery pack, it's relatively simple. The communication protocol it has is called CAN bus, which is obviously widely used on most vehicles. So essentially you put it in your battery pack. One per every 80 litres of free air volume as such. We recommend somewhere near the vent port on the pack, and then you connect it into the CAN bus, and it will basically indicate whether you've got an issue with the pack. It also looks at air temperature, it looks at water ingress, and has some other useful parameters for the pack itself.
How do you monitor that inside the cabin of the car, in your instrument panel, or a separate gauge?
Because it sits on the CAN bus, right? It will be sitting on the data bus of the car. It's up to basically usually it depends on who's doing it, but let's say if it's a vehicle integrator or someone's producing low volume EVs of some sort, they'll then take that data. They'll put it through a vehicle control module, which will then make decisions on that data that's being fed from the sensor, whether to disconnect the battery or warn the driver on the dash or something like that. It becomes up to the vehicle integrator at that point how to display to the driver. But yeah, a warning on the dash essentially.
So you're basically looking for your device and get a relationship with the OEMs to use your device in their vehicles, not necessarily as an aftermarket. Hey, you've got an EV, come buy my product and attach it to your EV, because the CAN bus connection and all that intercommunication with their modules is a little more complex than a person could do on their own.
Right. It depends on where. It depends on. Yes, it's targeted at vehicle integrators, and what we've seen is that it's quite hard to convince a big OEM. To take up something like this.
I work for General Motors for 25 years. Believe me, they're of the mindset if we didn't think of it, nobody needs it.
It's not a good idea. Yeah.
It's also it's just hard to I suppose you can appreciate if you've got General Motors, God knows how many employees they've got, thousands,
too many,
and it's hard to find the one person to speak to in all of that, to explain what this does, and then to get the pickup, and then it's such a juggernaut of momentum that it's quite hard to change course quickly. So we kind of see pickup in small to mid-tier kind of integrators, and also General Motors would probably want to develop something like this themselves, not come to a small company such as ourselves to do it. Whereas mid-tier to small companies, they're more integrated, so they'll buy a battery management system off the shelf and integrate it rather than develop their own one, if you see what I mean.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind about all this is the fact that, say, for instance, Amazon is going to change their fleet to mostly electric, and it seems to me that would be a perfect fit for you guys to sell your battery management system to them, because they've got a lot invested in these electric vehicles that they really need to monitor something like that, because my gosh, we're talking about $30,000 batteries here,
and the post office is doing the same thing.
It's expensive, isn't it? I mean, like we talk about write-offs. We have a variant which is in development and released soon, which has an accelerometer on, so that's targeting the instances where you have a bump in an EV, the battery gets written off because that's the safest thing to do. But actually, did you need to or not? And it's very, very expensive to replace. I mean, the battery, I don't know what the percentage cost of a car is for battery. It's got, plucking it out of the air is like 30%, where it's a huge cost of the car itself. So to just, bin one of these things is expensive for the insurance companies. So it's, that's the other thing the sensor does as well. So our hope is that people, I think again, it's a developing market, isn't it? And people are still learning about EVs, owners themselves, the developers of them, and we're hoping we're in at the stage where actually they can see that this is actually a useful product to go with their battery management systems to offer, extra protection in terms of, thermal propagation, also, do we need to get rid of the battery pack because it's had too big of a bump? Has it got water ingress? All this kind of stuff. So, and this one sensor can measure the lot.
And what does it look to me? Then a little drawing here that I've got. It's just basically a pan, is what it looks like.
I don't know because I've got one on my desk. I don't know. It's about the size of a matchbox.
Oh my gosh! So that's it.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now, what kind of sales success have you had so far?
So we've handed out, because we released the product in November. So at this point, we've given out, I don't know, probably around 500 samples to varying sizes of OEMs. Some of them very big, some of them quite small. Sales looks good where we've sold them into them. We see them come back and buy more. What we're trying to do now is increase kind of the awareness that we exist. So I think we could do quite well, but I think part of that is because we are a small company, we have to try and raise awareness that we're here, because unlike somebody who's large, we've got, a limited amount we can spend on marketing and things like that. So,
well, I know that we've charged you a tremendous amount of money to be on the show this morning, and I'm sure that's going to go into the coffers and be well spent, don't you?
Yeah, I'll send you a cent.
Don has his own outgassing problem.
But it's a different kind. Yeah, exactly.
And it will pick those up as well. Someone suggested I should sell it as an off-gassing product for humans.
Well, they do have a great success in fart machines these days, from what I understand. So
considering how small that is, which surprises me, and you mentioned that it can validate that a battery's still good. It's not cracked or anything like. Is that?
I think.
I know that's not necessarily what you initially went after, but is that something that, say, a claims adjuster or somebody could use while they're evaluating the vehicle?
Yeah, so I think we would say, the more data you've got on it, the better. So you would use this still in conjunction with the BMS. So you'd still look at voltages, you'd still look at temperatures. You'd also go, is that, you'd look at that and go, is there an issue with a cell? And then you could cross-check it with this sensor to say, okay, we're seeing an increase in VOCs in the pack or an increase in pressure. Go, yeah, it looks like we've got an issue here. In terms of insurance companies, so a couple of the companies that we're talking to at the moment are insurance companies, because it's not even on in the area of, well, how can we look at adjusting, looking at premiums for these things and figuring out risks with them. It's simply because some of these guys have to go and do crash testing or are involved in crash testing themselves, and at this point we're giving some to an insurance company that want to look at the post-crash vehicles to see if the battery packs are any good in them. We've also sold them into labs or test houses where they'll go off and test EV packs. So actually, the first intent was to put it in vehicles, but insurance companies, labs, and also any energy storage.
Well, I was really thinking
storage as well.
More like a portable tool that if I'm the adjuster and I have a client that calls says I had a wreck in my EV, I want to go out there and have some sort of portable tool to plug in.
You need a sniffer. Yeah.
A sniffer,
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what this variant is, which goes on to post-crashed cars, essentially, to check that that there isn't some sort of breakdown over time of the pack and etc. But yes. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Joe, we find what you're doing fascinating. I've learned a lot here today, and we wish you the best of luck. For those that are watching our show or listening to our show, is there a website we can go and get more information on your product?
Yeah, metisengineering.com.
That's METIS. Yes, engineering.com. Yeah. Well, Joe, it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for the education this morning, and that it has been, my friend. And we wish you the best of luck. Stay in touch with us and let us know how things are going.
Yeah, let me know if you want to sensor, guys.
All right, we'll do. All right, we appreciate you. Joe Holdsworth, he's the founder of Metis Engineering. Fascinating.
Yep.
Pretty cool idea, because you got to think, would there have been an opportunity for any of the OEMs, and I'm thinking GM specifically, with the Bolt runaway fires from the thermal runaways, might his device have predicted it before?
Well, you would think so,
happened? And that's.
But what do you do? So, okay, you got knowledge that the thing is on a runaway, meaning that it's going to explode or melt down or whatever.
Just get out.
Well, thank you.
Big sign
but you'd also shut the system down.
How can you do that?
From what I could gather from what Joe said, his device is totally a separate device,
right?
And it communicates with the vehicle. So his device could say, "Hey, something's wrong," and the vehicle could start opening circuits and disconnecting.
But
stuff.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to determine it at a level that's critical, it can just the slightest amount
Correct.
would be a notification.
And that
Before
level
it
could
gets
be
critical.
variable by
Right.
whoever the OEM
There's
is.
you're green, there's
should've
yellow,
asked
and then there's
him.
red.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Should have.
He's still on.
All right, time now for.
He's listening, going, I wonder if they actually got what I said. Yeah, we did. We did.
Time now for the In-Wheel Time race card, sponsored by Texas Nostalgia Modified Production.
Right.
And this weekend, NHRA is in Chicago. What Eric is seventh right now
Yes.
in qualifying, and they're going through qualifying round 2 and 3 today. Also this weekend is the North Wilkesboro All-Star Race. First time NASCAR has been back to North Wilkesboro in some time.
That's this weekend? Oh, that's good.
NASCAR, that's the series where everybody gets a trophy, isn't it?
Except for Ross Chastain. And did you read any of that?
No.
That Hendrick somewhat threatened Ross Chastain this weekend.
Oh, it's going to be
because he was.
it's going to be flag to flag this week.
Yep. And then Formula One is at the Romanian Grand Prix, and then on the 28th is Monaco. You got to remember, Memorial Weekend is a huge race weekend.
You betcha.
And Kyle Larson, the NASCAR driver, he won the championship a couple of years ago. He is actually going to do the double. He's going to run Indy in an Indy car, and then he's going to go to Charlotte.
Next year.
Oh, is that next year? I
Next
thought
year.
that was this year. Okay. And then to go do 600 miles. So do 1,100 miles in one day. And then Laguna Seca, friend of the show, Alec Udell, he finished third last weekend at Laguna Seca, and then the Indy 500 is Memorial Weekend as well.
All right, time now for Jeff's feature today, and that is affordable 60s muscle cars.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And as soon as we get this going here, we will just plug that in. Roger that. The original muscle car era lasted for less than 10 years, but undoubtedly everlasting mark in the industry. Muscle cars were built to be fast and look good doing it, just like me. This one here, we've got a 1969 Dodge Charger 500. Mike, this was 13.48 seconds in the quarter mile. This car, brand new in '69, was $5,200.
Ooh, that was
Today, if you wanted to buy one, be it a Mecum or a Barrett, you're looking at about $230,000 or around that area. Ooh. Most muscle car fans know the Dodge Charger lineup well, including the Wild Charger Daytona from '69, but Daytona's predecessor, the Charger 500, which was far less known and far less successful in the '60s. Dodge was desperate to put NASCAR on their platter with the Charger. The standard Charger with deep grille and concave rear glass needed to be aerodynamic, so Dodge decided to introduce the limited edition 500. They named it 500. Why, Mike? Because they only
500.
made 500 of them.
Oh, did they really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. It came with a flush grille, fixed headlights, and regular rear glass to improve the aerodynamics of the car. The Charger 500 came with 2 engine sizes, the 440 and an optional 426.
Hemi.
Go ahead, Mike.
Did you know, useless trivia, did you know the original name of the Dodge Charger before it came out as a Charger?
I did not.
You go.
It was a Monte Carlo
Oh, there you go.
when it was first proposed.
This one here is a 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 302. Mike, this was 14.41 seconds and 1,320 feet. Brand new, this car was $3,950. Now it's around $70,000. The third redesign of the Mustang appeared in '69 model, and it grew larger. The Mustang kept growing larger and larger. The engine choices and equipment lists were thoroughly changed. The Mustang lineup concentrated in 2 directions. The luxury was the Grande notchback. The other was the muscle with 3 new models, the Mach 1, the 429, and the Boss 302. Also, Ford introduced the legendary 428 Cobra Jet engine as a regular production option, putting the Mustang among the fastest muscle cars of the era. The Boss 302 is the most important model, produced only for 2 years, Conrad, 69 and 70. The Boss 302 featured 302 V8 engine, which was a conservative 290 horsepower.
And that was all about going SCCA racing with that 5-liter engine. Same thing with the Camaro Z28.
And this one's for you there, big boy. 1969 Oldsmobile 442, 14.20 seconds in the quarter. New on this rascal was $3,300. My brother had one. Not a 442. He had just a Cutlass. Now you can get them for around $40,000, depending on condition. At the time, Oldsmobile was under GM's ban to forbid them from the company from putting engines larger than 400 cubic inch displacement in an intermediate vehicle. This meant that the popular 442 model couldn't be featured as with the biggest engines available. Due to that, it was inferior to the Mopar muscle cars, which did have the 440 cubic inch under their hoods. However, 69 Oldsmobile 442 was not slow by any means. It was a 400 V8 engine, pumped 325 horsepower, and it was enough to be competent in the quarter mile.
Whatever that means, competent.
Well, speaking of competent, here you go,
I'm
Don.
incompetent.
This one's for you, Don. Got my pages mixed up. There you go. This one's a 69 Corvette L88, 13.3 seconds in the quarter.
It's $1 million
$6,500 brand new. Yes, Conrad, it's $1 million plus right now. Even though the first big block of the 427 Corvette left the factory in 69, it was further refined with 4 levels of power in 69. This list started with a 390 horsepower 427 V8, ended up with extremely rare, powerful L88 427 V8. Corvettes equipped with this engine were a class all to themselves, with the aluminum head L88 produced 600 horsepower that came with a heavy-duty suspension, brakes, and handling package. This option for this car actually doubled the price when it was new. I'm just going to skip to the last one, my favorite. We're going to go to this one, which is now the 1969 Chevrolet SS Nova, which is 13.87 seconds. I had one of these. I wasn't
you have a 396?
I had a 350.
Still a fun car.
Mine was orange flame on this, but right now $2,600 new, $50,000 if you wanted to buy it today.
And Nicky and Harrell and Baldwin all made a version of it.
Yeah, Yanko did too. Yeah, and there you go. We skipped for time element.
Well, thank you. You just kind of rushed right through.
I did.
Don was giving you the finger.
Yeah, he was.
1 minute
He was giving me the 1 minute. So,
yeah, you know,
so to speak.
The way that you put that just didn't give a good light.
Yeah,
so.
but everybody understood it.
Next week, we don't know.
No, we don't. We don't know anything about next week. All right. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com, and podcasts are at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. The In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after this quick break. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. You know, I'm not quite sure why I do this show on Saturdays.
Because it's so much fun.
We're not going to be here on Wednesday.
That's true.
That's right. That's it. Live, it's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Steve Rendell or Rendell. I'm going to get that. He's going to explain that to us here. Got a new book coming out. Formula One Technology Engineering Explained.
All right.
This is right down our alley, isn't it?
Yay, Jeff.
Yeah,
Yay, me.
Conrad will have the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show, Car Clinic, and I'll bring you this week's auto news. Howdy, along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Smith. Because I don't want to give you my real name.
John Doe.
No, John Doe. That's it. Mr. Doe. All right.
Do-si-do.
The Do-si-do. I don't like that place.
You don't?
No, I don't. I think it's a ripoff.
Okay.
But at any rate, because they're probably listening, probably fans of the show.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, now that we got all that out of the way, let's talk to Steve. Steve, how do you pronounce your last name?
Steve Rendell.
Rendell, so I got it right.
You got it right.
Finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
At least I got something right today. You know, it's been a difficult morning for me, but at any rate, Steve has written a book called Formula One Technology, The Engineering Explained. Now, if you are a car geek like we are, I can tell you that this would be of interest to you because I have an idea of how a Formula One car is put together, or what makes a Formula One car. But when it gets down to the nuts and bolts, I'm out. I don't understand all of that. And apparently Steve has written a book that gives you all of that information. Mm-hmm. What possessed you to write this book, Steve?
Well, like you guys, I'm a geek. I'm a car geek, a motorsport geek. I love Formula One. I've always been a Formula One fan since I was a kid. I think it was fired up when my parents took me to my first ever Grand Prix way back in 1981. And I was blown away. It was just such an exciting, noisy, colourful experience. I'm one of those crazy guys that try to fix anything. You know, a kid's toy, rather than chuck it away, bring it to me, I'll have a go at fixing it. So I've always had that interest in all things mechanical. And I ended up working in publishing. Way back, I started with Haynes Publishing, who published the car repair manuals, worked with them. And as I progressed, as my career progressed and my interest was maintained in Formula One, an opportunity came along for me to combine the two and start writing about Formula One cars and the engineering. And I figured, you know, I've got a curious mind, interested in the engineering. I like to find out how things work. I reckon a lot of other Formula One fans would too, because it's a complex sport. Like any sport, I think the more you know and understand about it, the more you can enjoy it and immerse yourself in the experience. And F1 is one of those, arguably almost at a crazy level. It's quite a complicated engineering challenge. And so this book really takes you right through, gives you a little digest, a summary of the history of the engineering in the sport, and then brings you up to where we are today. And then what I've tried to do is explain each of the car systems and what that does in isolation, and then how it all comes together to produce this incredible machine, which is designed to go as fast as it possibly can and be the best.
Steve, is the Formula One, are the Formula One cars different depending on the manufacturer, unlike the Indy cars that all have the same chassis, the same bodies, and the only difference is the engines. Are they different? Are they manufactured differently than they are here in the U.S., the Indy cars?
They are. In Formula One, you've got 10 teams. Those 10 teams all design their own chassis, their own cars. There are 4 engine manufacturers. So we've got Mercedes, Ferrari, Renault, and Honda. There are works. So you've got works. The works teams are Ferrari, effectively, and Mercedes. They have their own engines, their own chassis. 8 other teams all design their own cars, but they use the engines supplied by their engine manufacturers. So the incredible thing is, even with that, you end up with 20 cars on the grid matched within thousandths of a second. So completely different teams of engineers, teams of mechanics on the grid, different drivers, but that competitive edge and still counting in thousands is remarkable. So yes, it is different to Indy, where you kind of have that, dare I say it, a proprietary car, I suppose, and then it's all down to the trimming and the setting up of the cars. Same thing applies in F1, but the cars are all different. So 2 of each car, 10 teams, 2 cars each.
So would you agree with my opinion that Adrian Newey, as a designer/engineer, has had the greatest impact on F1, say, for the last 10, 15 years, as far as car design goes?
Yeah, I would, absolutely. I think, Adrian must have designed 12, I'm not sure of the figure, probably 11 or 12 championship winning cars, I think, over the years. And I think one of the standout things about him is that he went to Red Bull Racing back in 2004, 5, something like that, having been at Williams and McLaren, who were leading teams. Red Bull were just coming into the sport, and Adrian Newey, along with all the people that he brought into the team and brought in with him, they've moved Red Bull to be the dominant team as we see today. So yes, I definitely agree with that.
So do you think the greatest advancements in F1 have been, and I realize the hybrid eras, I'm going to exclude that because I think that's a tremendous advancement, but do you think it's been in aerodynamics or chassis or engine? Which of those things? In more
recent years, definitely aerodynamics. That is the dominant factor in F1 by quite some margin. You still got to have a good engine. You clearly still got to have a good driver. But aerodynamics, that is the absolute number one priority and the dominant factor for all the teams. I mean, it's critical. You see at the moment, in the last couple of races, a tiny amount of damage to an aero device or a wing, even one of the side pods, can make a huge difference over a race distance. So yes, aero is definitely the thing, and all the science and engineering that go with it. So the way that today that can be analysed using computer fluid dynamics, etc., etc., a very complex subject. I've tried to explain it as best I can, but goodness, you could write several volumes just on aerodynamics.
When it comes to Formula One, what does the overseeing business of Formula One do with each of these teams? I mean, obviously they have to have some sort of strength, rigidity. They have to have roll bars and monocoques and all of the things for the safety of the driver. But there is some wiggle room, I understand, when it comes to chassis design. Is it the same for aerodynamics?
It is, yes. The challenge for the engineers is, though, that everything is now very, very rigidly defined. And we had a big change for 2022, because leading up to 2022, it became pretty obvious that overtaking was very difficult, which reduced the spectacle, I would say. And so you ended up with a lot of cars following each other, not all the time, not all race, but generally that was the pattern.
Like so NASCAR.
Yeah. I mean, the organisers realised that to draw new people in and keep people interested, that had to change. And so the rules changed for the beginning of 2022. One of the things that changed then was the fact that the rule book defines all the componentry of the car using a 3D system of Cartesian coordinates. Before, up until then, all the dimensions were measured from datum points. So front wing had to be X inches away from this datum point in the middle of the car, and so on. And now, using this system of 3D coordinates, the teams, obviously for many years, have built 3D models of the car electronically. And now it means that the rule makers can define all the angles and the radii of wing edges and bodywork, etc. So you kind of have these boxes, and within those boxes, the certain part of bodywork has to lie, the wing or the main bodywork. And that actually has given the teams, it makes it easier to interpret the rules, but it gives them less freedom to come out with some groundbreaking, clever new shape, for instance, for a wing or for the bodywork.
And that was my question, because in NASCAR and some of the other circuits, they impound the vehicle after a win. And sometimes they take the first or second or third. Do they do that in Formula One to diagnose or look at to see if anybody's cheating?
Yeah, at the end of, well, with qualifying as well. So the end of qualifying, at the end of a race, they have what they call parc fermé, probably the same, I guess, in many of the US series. So all the cars go into that area and they can't be touched by the teams. And they are then examined, they're probably weighed. They are allowed to take fuel samples, to take oil samples, etc., to make sure all those things are within the rule book, within the specs. And they take measurements. They have templates that they can put over the cars to check the rear wings, check the ride height, all that kind of thing. So they're very, very tight on rules. I think I'm right in saying they always check the first 3 finishers, and then it can be random throughout the grid. And also, on the qualifying days when the cars are running, they can be just called in by a guy at the head of the pit lane to be weighed and checked randomly. That's a completely random operation. So yeah, they keep a very careful eye on what's happening.
And isn't that part of the genius of Adrian Newey, is understanding the rules and understanding how to work within the rules to make something different on their car that gives them an advantage over everybody else?
Yes, it is. And there are people who have said that they think Adrian Newey can kind of visualize airflow, can look at something and interpret in his mind exactly how the air is flowing over that. And I think his outstanding ability is aerodynamics. I mean, he has always been way ahead, I think, of everybody else on aerodynamics. And also, I think he's built up a fabulous team around him. And he's been at Red Bull, I'm thinking, probably 10, 15 years, maybe longer now, 10 years. And, you know, he's built a great team around him. And I think he is just a step ahead. Now, he actually still draws things on a drawing board, I think, and then has guys interpret it, put it into a CAD system. So he's quite old school in that respect. But as you say, yes, very clever man.
So what happened to Mercedes this year? How did they really fall behind in their engineering, or is it just that Red Bull advanced so much?
I think maybe it's an element of both. I wonder if Mercedes were a little bit complacent because they were having trouble last year, and I think they probably played safe rather than developing something radically new. They stuck with what they knew. Red Bull, this year's car, the aerodynamics are phenomenal, and I think one of the things about this year's car is it's noticeably quicker in a straight line. And it also has the characteristic that when they open the DRS system, which is something, I don't know if I need to explain that quickly, basically on F1 cars, there's a slightly artificial overtaking technique where the guys can open a flap, basically the rear wing opens up, vastly reduces the drag, and that speeds the car up effectively on the straights. Now the Red Bull is probably allegedly kind of 5 to 10 miles an hour quicker when they open that device, and that does give them a huge overtaking advantage on the straights. So I think Red Bull have made big advances. Aston Martin as well. I mean, they've been quite a surprise this year. Suddenly you've got Alonso, who I know you know well from IndyCar. He is now, I think he's finished third in 4 of the 5 races. Yeah, so they've made a step up.
He's moving up.
Very competitive.
Maybe not fallen, but stood still.
I like the Aston Martin team. I do.
Steve, was there any one thing when you were doing your research and writing the book, any one thing that was kind of surprising to you that kind of really brought your attention to something specifically on the Formula One cars?
I think it's just the overall level of detail. Nothing exists on those cars. No curve. No rivet, no gap between panels without a reason. Everything is analysed in such fine detail, and that's why I think, as I mentioned before, you end up with these thousands of seconds between the top guys when they're out there on the track, and such great battles. I mean, the detail is phenomenal. The quality of the engineering, I can only liken it to aerospace engineering or spacecraft. I think, Formula One, motorsport in general, but particularly Formula One, partly, I suppose, because of the money involved, and the manufacturers too, because obviously at the end of the day, they're there to showcase their cars and promote their businesses.
What does it cost to run a Formula One team?
Well, there is a budget cap this year. You have to forgive me because I'm not sure what that budget cap is off the top of my head. But the costs are escalating hugely, just vast costs, and that was leading to a situation where the best funded teams, obviously, as in any walk of life, had a huge advantage. And so you had Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari, and then I think you had a massive step down. I mean, probably a 40% drop then to the next level of team, which almost led to 2 or 3 tiers of racing, if you like. But we're talking, I don't know, multiple tens of millions.
Yes. Well, I'm going to say, I was just going to say $500 million. You
got to go million like this.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, the other thing is some of the engineering advancements one year can be outlawed the next year because they gave that team such an advantage over the rest of the field. You look over time how certain engineering features of a vehicle have just been flat outlawed. The sliding sill plates and stuff, all of that was outlawed because that was adding the aerodynamics and stuff to it, and some of the analog brake systems that they used in the past. Now, most all of that's been banned from the car. Even though the technology was there, the F1 decided, no, we don't want that anymore.
Steve, is the book available here in the States?
It is, yes. This is the book.
Oh, very nice.
So there we are. Yeah, it's available in the States through Amazon, I believe, and most of the usual online outlets, and it's available from the publishers who are everopublishing.com.
332 pages, 450 illustrations. Boy, that's a coffee table book if I ever saw one.
Absolutely.
Steve, it's a real pleasure to talk to you. We really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today. And we invite everybody to look for the book, Formula One Technology, The Engineering Explained by Steve Rendle. Steve, take care of yourself. We appreciate it. How's the weather over there in Somerset, England today?
It's glorious today. Blue skies, no clouds. Long may it continue.
I'm on my way. I'll see you later on this afternoon.
Enjoy it while you got it.
Say hey to the king for us.
Yes. Take care of yourself. Thanks again, Steve. Steve Rendle. Love that.
Cool book.
That. All right.
Yeah.
Time now. We'd love to hear from you, by the way. If you ever want to get in touch with us, shoot us an email. The address is info@inrealtime.com. Time now for Conrad's Car Clinic, and we're going to go in a little bit more technical direction today.
Well, you had asked for some information you asked me to do something that was more detail-oriented.
Yes.
And you talked about piston rings.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to talk about how piston rings work, but also how they have changed over the last 10 years. And a lot of that change is all done by the manufacturers trying to get better fuel economy in a vehicle. So back in the late 90s, they went with something called a low-tension piston ring, which just means the outward force of the ring, because a piston ring is basically my simplified version of it is a spring that's spreading outwards, so it scrapes the cylinder wall to keep the gasoline up here and the oil down here. Well, in the late 90s, they went with what's called a low-tension piston ring, which really complicated things. And they're used in pretty much everything now, but we're going to talk about how it works in a gasoline direct injected engine. I started with this picture here to show you what's the difference between a port fuel injected engine and a gasoline directed injected engine. And it's really about where's the fuel injector. In a port fuel engine, the fuel injector is behind the intake valve, spraying fuel into the intake port. In a GDI engine, it's actually down inside the combustion chamber. And because it's down inside the combustion chamber, the fuel pressure had to be raised on a GDI engine. So on a port fuel engine, you had fuel pressures probably in the 60, 70 PSI range. In a GDI engine, you now have fuel pressures up over 2,000 PSI. The other thing that happened in the GDI itself is the compression ratio has gone up. So because the compression ratio has gone up, that forced the ring performance to have to improve as well. Again, to keep the combustion gases up top, pushing the piston down, and the oil underneath. Well, in that, you're also seeing compression ratios in the what used to be a high compression was 11-to-1. Well, now you're seeing some of these engines that are 12, 13, 14, 15, 18-to-1 compression ratios. So substantially different than what it was in the past. And then the other thing about the high pressure is they want that droplet of fuel to be very, very small so it burns better. And later, next couple of weeks, I'll do one on piston shapes as well. But all of that has a problem with carbon buildup, and that carbon buildup, how it affects the power and the fuel economy of the vehicle, because it affects it pretty significantly. And then you have, the low tension piston rings. They're thinner, they exert less outward force, and they're more prone to getting stuck on the piston. You got to think when you go lean in an engine with up to 40-to-1 air fuel ratio, stoichiometric air fuel ratio is 14.7 parts air and 1 part fuel. Well, in some of these GDI engines, you're going to see 40-to-1 air fuel ratio. So as that air fuel ratio goes up, the temperature in the combustion chamber goes up proportionately to it. So that means the piston's hotter, and when the piston's hotter, the oil bakes inside the ringland area. And when the oil bakes inside the ringland area, that deposit is what causes the piston rings to stick. The smaller low-tension piston rings are there to reduce frictional drag and also improve fuel efficiency in the engine. And there's unintended consequences. So that unintended consequence is that the piston rings are very, very sensitive to deposit, and ring immobilization and compression loss happens, something called blow-by. So now you have the combustion event. Instead of pushing the piston down, it blows by the rings and gets into the crankcase. So that's all part of the issue with it. And then to depict that in a picture here, in a normal system, the air gets in on top of the ring, pushes the ring down, gets behind the ring, and pushes it up against the cylinder wall to create the oil seal between the cylinder wall and the piston ring. Well, when things go wrong and that oil deposit happens in that area, the gas no longer pushes the piston ring up against the cylinder wall. If you looked at a cross section of a piston ring, you'll see the new low tension piston ring on the bottom is about 40% of the width of a new one. If you looked at the other cross section of a piston ring, it's actually kind of a trapezoidal shape. So it's actually that small little point on the outboard side of the ring is what scrapes the cylinder wall. All of that's heavily impacted by oil deposits.
Piston rings. Love it. All right. Thank you, sir. That is the Car Clinic for this morning. We look forward to next week's. Some of the stories making top news headlines this week. This is kind of dear to my heart. Group of bipartisan U.S. lawmakers introduced legislation Wednesday to bar automakers from eliminating AM broadcast radio in their new vehicles, citing safety concerns. What? Yeah. Democratic Senator Edward Markey, one of the sponsors of the bill, said at least 8 automakers have removed AM broadcast radio from their EVs, including Tesla, BMW, Ford, and Volkswagen. Lawmakers say losing AM radio undermines a federal system for delivering key public safety information to the public. The bill would direct NHTSA to issue regulations to mandate AM radio in new vehicles without additional charge. This is a test. For the next 60 seconds, you know all that.
Yep.
It's your voice.
It was at one time. And I will tell you that it is a concern because the emergency broadcast system, it relies on AM radio. So if there is an emergency in all of the radio stations,
all the people with Teslas won't know.
Well, what's the stop and aftermarket radio place to say, come on in, half price?
Well, the problem is that it has to be built into the car because there has to be some sort of form of shielding with AM radios, unlike FM radios. Otherwise, you're going to go that.
Sound like our
there are very high-tech people that can do that. So I have all the confidence.
Tell me who they are.
We'll get Mars to do it.
And speaking of advertising and stuff like that, Alfa Romeo is preparing to launch a TV ad blitz for the Toenail compact crossover, the Italian brand's first plug-in hybrid. I just had to use
a pedicure last week.
The Toenail.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's pronounced something differently, but I don't care.
10 of my toenails.
And
she got the Dremel tool out.
Electric cars and trucks captured 7% of the U.S. light vehicle market in the first quarter of this year, up 4.6% from the year earlier, according to new vehicle registration data from Experian. Growth coming as traditional automakers turn on the faucet for new EV models. Legacy brands and recent industry startups took nearly 40% of the new U.S. EV registrations in the first quarter, chipping away at Tesla's market dominance, according to Experian. All right, time now for a quick break here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. We'll be back with hour number two right after a quick break. Stay with us. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In-Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. Live from the Sugar Shack World Headquarters in Texas, USA. It's the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we talk to Robert Hanfield on the supply chain outlook. We'll also have the events calendar. Mars reviews the new Kia Telluride. Plus, we'll have the stories making automotive news headlines. Howdy. Along with Mike Out of This World Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin, Cadillac
It is
Zekin.
Cadillac Racing.
Yes.
Cadillac Jack.
I'm Nod Nordsma.
On the AM side.
On the not on FM. I go by Don Armstrong there, but on the on this side, it's Nod Nordsma.
What was your DJ name when you were spinning vinyl? Because you spun vinyl, didn't you?
I did.
What was your DJ name?
Don Armstrong.
It's kind of catchy, isn't it?
It wasn't near as good as Rick Shaw, or
Wolfman Jack?
or no, it would be Russ Knight the Weird Beard.
Or Cousin Brucey?
No, none of that.
I grew up with Cousin Brucey.
I'm sure that you did.
New York.
I was never a fan of Cousin Brucey. I thought he sucked as a disc jockey, and he sucked when he was on the radio on Sirius
Did he get
XM.
arrested for doing something really bad?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Never a fan. Never a fan.
So send your cards and letter to Cousin Brucey.
Yeah, do that.
8675309.
Do that. There are so many recalls that I want to start this segment with recalls. First of all, Ford Motor Company is recalling more than 422,000 2020 through 2023 Explorers, Lincoln Aviators, and Lincoln Corsairs equipped with a 360-degree camera that might not display properly. Vehicles equipped with a rear camera only are not affected. Recall expands and replaces a recall for the same defect issued in January.
So they're recalling the recall.
Cameras might intermittently display either a rear camera blue image or a full blue or black image on the screen when the vehicle is placed in reverse or when the 360-degree camera is selected and available. Ford estimated that 100% of the vehicles recalled are affected. Okay.
So every car they recalling is needing a recall. That's
Every single one of them.
I can write that in kind of a press clip.
General Motors is recalling more than 668,000 Chevrolet Equinox and GMC Terrain vehicles in the U.S. for child seat anchors that may not function properly. The recall affects Equinox and Terrain compact crossovers from 2020 to 2023. By the way, and I didn't know this, the child seat latch system, which stands for, do you know what it stands for? Latch system? Latch?
LATCH?
LATCH. Lower anchors and tethers for children is what latch stands for.
You know, when they pay somebody $100,000 a year to figure out how to make that acronym fit.
Yeah.
Anchorage bars
And then they
might
pay
have,
what's-her-face $29 million a year to screw it all up.
Anchorage bars may not have excessive powder coating and could prevent a child seat from being installed. Okay. Here's some other ones.
Kind of like doing diapers. You didn't powder coat the baby properly enough. How's that going there, Granddad? Have you done it? A little mushroom cloud.
Exactly. Well, I haven't seen him in a couple of weeks, but I saw a video of him last night, and he has come alive. He is alive. Ford Explorer is being recalled for the 2020 to 2022 model years. Incomplete PCM update may result in a rollaway.
Uh-oh.
Is that the parking Paul thing?
No, that's the thing you get out of the closet when the guests come is the rollaway bed.
For God's sakes, what is a PCM?
powertrain control module.
Powertrain control module. So it's all computer controlled, and it may run away.
Roll away.
See you later.
Gotta go.
Yeah, roll away. Catalytic converter and exhaust fasteners may fail on the BMW X7 and XM for 2023. Those are brand new cars. HV battery cell monitoring circuit is not secured in the BMW i4 and the iX for 2022 through 2024. The Volkswagen ID4, these are all electrics now. Vehicle doors may open unexpectedly.
Oh, no.
Oops. Oh, there goes the baby. But not get the baby.
Yeah, because the latch system didn't work.
Latch system.
Vehicle body not welded properly on the Porsche 911 Carrera for 2022 and 2020, and the Porsche Taycan Turbo for 2021.
All right,
That's unusual.
We've recalled your 911. You're going to have to bring it to the shop, and they're going to weld something on it. Not.
Land Rover, Range Rover, and Range Rover Sport for 2022 to 2023. The storage compartment latch may fail. Ferrari, your Ferrari 296 that you ordered, it's being recalled. Fuel tank connecting pipe may leak. 2022 to
Thermal event.
Thermal event. Driver's airbag inflator may explode on the Buick Enclave, Chevy Traverse, and GMC Acadia 2014 through 2017. Oh, I've got more. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration demanded the recall of 67 million airbag inflators because it believes there's a safety defect, but auto supplier ARC, Automotive Incorporated, rejected the U.S. regulator's request, documents released on Friday.
So they went...
The ARC airbag inflators are in GM, Stellantis, BMW, Hyundai Motor, and Kia Motor vehicles.
So they don't want to go the way of Takata.
GM on Friday agreed to recall nearly 1 million vehicles with the ARC airbag inflators after a rupture in March resulted in facial injuries to a driver. Here we go again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, usually my rupture isn't in my face.
No, it's not.
It should be.
Well, it depends on how you look at it or how it looks.
Or where you're looking.
Yeah.
What your view is.
More than 2.5 million vehicles are under do not drive or park outside safety recalls that remain unrepaired despite the danger they present, vehicle history specialist Carfax said on Wednesday. This is the first time Carfax has specifically analyzed urgent recalls, part of their efforts to address the 20 to 25% of all recalls that typically go unrepaired. According to Patrick Olson, editor-in-chief for Carfax. I think we've had him on the air.
He's going to be on first part of June, too.
The urgent recalls encompass about 200 different models from a variety of brands and model years. A park outside order was issued Tuesday for Stellantis for 219 Jeep Cherokee SUVs from 2014 to 2016 models. 6 states each have more than 100,000 of these vehicles still in use on their roads, according to Carfax. California leads with 245,000, followed by Texas, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio.
Yeah.
That's the end of this hour's car recalls.
The recall.
We don't need to fix this here. Hold my beer. I'll fix this.
Man, what's going on?
Well, to me, because, when I work for GM, getting 75% of the vehicles corrected for a recall was actually considered quite successful.
But now,
as the technology advances and it's more safety-related technology, you're going to see more and more recalls because the engineers haven't fully vetted the system.
Well, now, if you buy a car from a dealer of any kind, new or used, that dealer is supposed to make sure that recall is taken care of.
Au contraire, mon ami, because Kathy had 2. She had a cable for the transmission, and she had a brake part, which I think was a line, some type of line or hose. Took it in, got all that stuff, had oil change, had a bunch of other stuff done that she needed to do. Well, they did the transmission cable, and they said, the other part for the brakes is on back order. Give us a week, and we'll call you. Well, it's been a month.
And many times, I know I've talked about it before, the recall gets issued because NHTSA said you got to issue the recall and notify the customers. The recall gets issued, the customer gets notified, before the
Parts are ready.
Well,
That's
not
what
just
this
the
is.
parts are ready, but before the manufacturer has determined what
the
they're going
fix
to
is.
do
Yeah.
to fix it, much less validate the part and get a part
Availability,
supplier building
yeah.
it right. So you'll see some recalls. Remember the deal with the Chevys and the ignition key
Yep.
back
Cobalt.
in the 90s and early 2000s. That was out long before GM had a resolution for it and what they were going to do to correct it. And a lot of those were, well, give me a rent car. So customers were putting rent cars for months on end because, the car really wasn't safe to drive.
Well, the best thing that we can recommend here on this show is take the VIN number of your car, which is on your insurance card, and plug it in to the box that pops up when you go to safercard.gov. And with that VIN number, it will pop up your car, and it will tell you whether or not there is a recall on your car. Go get it fixed. It's free. Go get it fixed. And maybe get the oil changed or something while you're having it in
Well,
there.
the other thing that can happen is some recalls and special policies, which is, hey, we built a defective car and we're going to cover repair of it. Those can expire.
Yes,
and
they
then
can.
it's not free anymore.
That's correct. As a matter of fact, my Corvette had one, and the original owner did not adhere to the recall, and it had to do with the steering column lock. My car has a key, an actual key that goes into the dashboard, okay? Not in the steering column, but in the dashboard, old school, right? Into the dashboard, and that's how you start the car. Well, once the car turns on, you can hear it. Around the steering column, it goes click and releases the steering lock. Well, it was that lock that was defective. It was recalled, and the guy didn't get it fixed. Cost me $700 to get that lock
because the
replaced.
recall expired. How can a safety recall expire? Tell me, other than the OEMs are doing a good job of padding the pockets of the politicians to give them that option.
Surely you jest.
Don't come. To
Yeah, exactly. All right. That's the recalls. All right.
And more to come.
More to come. Let's do Hemmings Marketplace Sold Cars Roundup. We're going to start with Jeffrey's car.
All right.
A 1978 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz.
Oh, beautiful car. Long boat. Oh, yeah.
78.
A 78.
Yeah, I've driven those back in 78.
And that was before they downsized it in 79.
Yeah,
Well, they did a Seville.
I don't think that this thing could fit in the garage.
No.
But
Not
whatever.
today's garages, no.
It's sold for
12.
$11,550.
Yeah, I was thinking 11 to 12.
And it looks pristine.
It
But
is.
I will tell you this. From my experience in dealing with stuff like that, do you know how many parts are on that car?
It's great, isn't it?
It's like two cars in one when it comes to parts. Oh, well, they've
And the
got
wire
this
wheels.
piece of chrome that's that long, that's impossible to find. Nobody stocks it. You can't even find it at a junkyard. There's about 1,000 of those all over the car. Interior,
awesome.
unbelievably complex.
And the Landau.
The
vinyl
Landau
top.
roof, that's right. With the
Gorgeous.
little opera window in the back. Yes, exactly. All right.
That's what Jeff liked about him.
Here's one, a 1982 Jeep CJ7. I had one, and I think it was about 1980, 81, 82. It's like this one. It had a Pontiac 4-cylinder engine in it.
The Iron Puke.
Yep, the Iron Puke. That's exactly right. Well, this 1982 Jeep CJ7, it looks
$6
like
grand.
17,000.
Oh, must have went through Meekum.
CJ7. I mean, it's been all fixed up, but it's a Jeep. Okay, Jeff,
Yeah.
your secondary car, a 1971 Chevy Nova.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
go.
Guesses anybody?
Which is it?
It's a 71 Nova. It looks like it's stock It looks like it's clean. I don't know any
10
of
grand.
No
that.
6-cylinder.
Probably a
V8
6-cylinder
or anything like
whatever.
A
Small block.
6-cylinder, I'd say 10. If
10,
it's a
around 10.
V8, I'd say about 20.
This car sold
Yeah.
for $1,950
No.
on Hemmings.
I got a birthday
is.
coming up, so pull your money.
That's a steal.
Pull your money.
Here's one. Knock your socks right off. A 1966 Chevrolet Corvette. Now, I will tell you from the looks of it here, based on the Stinger hood and the side pipes, it's a coupe. Does that give you any clue as to how
Well,
much?
Stinger hood and side pipes generally
20
would be
grand.
a big block.
No,
So I'll
I'm
say
going
60.
for 75.
75 grand, I'm going 20.
$155,000.
Oh, again, pull your money. I got a birthday coming up.
That was at Meekum.
Now, for you Pontiac GTO fans,
All right.
Oh, and that buttload of them went through Meekum yesterday.
1967. What was the first year for the Pontiac GTO?
64.
I say 5, but I
No,
recently
64.
heard 64.
But it wasn't, it was a square body style. It was
Correct.
like a
It was
Chevelle.
Pontiac
Yeah.
Tempest Le Mans or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, this one sold for $48,825. Small block V8, I would assume.
It probably had, it may have had 3 deuces
In
on
a
it.
Pontiac, there is no big block, small block.
It's all small block,
It's just one block.
one block.
Blue block.
For you, Conrad, here's the Oldsmobile Cutlass from 1975.
Okay, I know what that one looks like.
Okay. And it's not near as pretty as your car.
Thank you.
This sold for $24,255.
Wow. That's all the money
that's
there.
A lot, yeah.
One of the most disappointing cars I think that Chevrolet ever built. There were lots of them, but this one in particular,
The
because
Chevy Nova they shared with Toyota.
this one,
Corvette.
I remember distinctly when it came out. I had just started doing car reviews, about 2000, somewhere in there. And it was the Chevrolet SSR, the pickup truck.
I loved it. I had
Not a fan.
7 or 8 of them as company cars. I loved it.
Well, I will tell you that the most disappointing thing about it was the engine.
Yes.
It had absolutely no horsepower, and it was pathetic. And the whole thing, you'd hit the gas, not hard, not anything. The whole thing would just sit there and twist as you peeled off from the light.
Well, if you took its clothes off, it was a Chevy Trailblazer,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Underneath all of that was a Chevy Trailblazer.
And it was the most complicated thing with that hard top removable
Retracted, yeah.
roof. It folded all up and then went
It
down
was
behind
like,
the back
it was
seat.
like origami.
It was.
And boy, and if each switch didn't happen in perfect sequence, it would just kind of stop wherever it was. And there was no return. There was no way.
And the
out
other
of it.
thing, it was not an open bed pickup truck.
No.
And the cover, the tonneau cover, the hard tonneau cover,
Tilted up maybe 30 degrees,
Exactly.
yeah.
You could get nothing in it. Who said that's good? No, from Chevrolet.
I liked them. I liked driving them. I thought they were a lot of fun to drive. Now you got to remember, the first year was an LS1, kind of like your Corvette. The second, third, and fourth year were LS2 engines, so they went from a 350 horse to a 400 horse engine in the later years.
Well,
and you can get a 6-speed behind it. You could row it,
It was wrong on so many levels, and
but it was heavy.
they brought out some special technology to build the fenders because of the crease in the fenders. It was so sharp. They didn't have the tooling, so they had to go back to the 1950s.
Wow.
And break out that technology to crease those fenders.
They couldn't press the metal properly without the metal either distorting or cracking.
Deforming, yeah.
Okay, time now.
Oh, well, how much did it sell for?
Oh, I guess
Yeah.
I needed to tell you that.
Yeah.
All that build up and then nothing.
Well,
I know how Leslie feels.
$11,550.
That's a steal.
Yeah, I would think
ouch,
so.
Ouch.
Nope, not for me.
That's
time
an
now
ouchie.
for the events calendar. That would be you.
So
But you need to step on it because we're cutting into Mars time.
Yeah, we
June 24th is
Yeah.
the Lone Star Drift Round out at the Houston Police Academy. And with that, I'll give it back to you, John. You said be in a hurry.
Okay, Mr. Mars, time now for this hour's car
Well, I
review.
got plenty of time now.
the
Yeah,
20
I can do this.
The 2023 Kia Telluride.
Wow.
Yeah.
You did a lot of research on that one, didn't you?
He got way involved. So we're talking about the 2023
No,
Kia.
you're going to talk
I'm
about
going
it.
to talk about the 2023 Kia Telluride that was first introduced in 2020. Now, it comes in 5 trim levels, but if you count the 2 new for 2023 sub-trims, you're actually looking at about 10. We'll run this by you real quick. Starts with the LX, the S, the EX, the EXX line, the SX, the XXX line, the
That'd be the
Prestige,
Triple X.
the X Pro V6, all-wheel drive.
Doo-dah.
Doo-dah. And we happen to be driving the SX Prestige X Pro V6 all-wheel drive. That's the official name of it across the Monroney.
Wow.
So you can get
around the back.
around the rack. It's a wraparound. So you can get these vehicles in either a 7 or 8 passenger. We happen to have the 7-passenger model. It is a 3-row mid-size SUV, which so it had the captain's chairs in the second row. We happen to have the midnight blue one. So it had because it's the X Pro, it had a lot of exterior stylings that go along with that. A lot of blacked out touches on it.
Is it like off-road? Is that what it was?
No, not really.
Okay.
No. So, it's got some more of a performance, not necessarily off-road, but more of a performance. Got a lot of blacked out features on it. The grill, a lot of the trim. Had some
It's
black.
an appearance package.
Yes. 18. Well, it's more than that. It's got black 18-inch alloy wheels. The standard wheel is a 20-inch, but this package comes with an 18, which seems kind of backwards, but it also makes it ride a whole lot better. Got a smart power lift gate. It's got heated folding side mirrors, dual sunroofs, LED headlighting. It's got all that stuff on the outside of it. On the inside, now it gets into where it had the Napa leather interior, but it had the terracotta color, which going with that blue, that's it in the pictures there, going up against that blue is a really nice color combination, I thought. Mm-hmm. First row bucket seats, heated, ventilated. Second row bucket seats are also heated and ventilated. Then you have a folding rear seat, third row, that is a 60/40. Got dual panoramic 12.3-inch displays. One of them is for the driver. The other one's got where you're going to get all your navigation, your convenience controls in the center stack. Got a digital rear view camera that works really nice. Harman Kardon premium audio system. Got a lot of technology with a wireless charger. Got USB. The USB ports for the rear seat, instead of being down on the floor at the back of the console, they're on the side panel of the seat right in front of you. It's just about eye level, very easy to find and get to. That was a really nice touch that really stood out. The other thing that really stood out, if you look at the instrument panel, if you go look at your car, you're going to see here's your speedometer and here's your tach on the left. Well, this one's got the speedometer on the left and the tach's on the right. Couldn't tell you why. That just seemed to bother me. I just wanted to mention that. Up under the hood to make all this thing go.
To bother you.
Yes, it did. So up under the hood, it's a 3.8-liter gas V6, 291 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, backed by an 8-speed automatic transmission. Properly equipped, this vehicle will tow 5,500 pounds, which I was impressed by that number. Now, the EPA says in the city you should be looking for about 18, on the Highway 24 and combined 21 miles to the gallon. This is in a 4,400-pound vehicle. Now, I got 18.8 miles to the gallon over 404.4 miles. And I want to say that driving this vehicle over that range, it's got a nice quiet cabin. There's minimal road noise. The seats are really comfortable, particularly if you're going out on the highway a lot. And there's plenty of room for family, and the technology's there for the family as well. Now, the base price on a Telluride is $52,955. Now, because of the sub trims, the way they've got it packaged together, you don't really have a lot of options. Now, our as tested price, I think that is $55,120. So that's only about a $3,000 package difference there. But there's a lot of content difference there, but it's because of the way they've done the trim packages and the sub trims. Now, a base model LX Telluride is $35,890. So if you go look at the Honda Pilot base at $36,300, or a Hyundai Palisade at $35,900, or even a Volkswagen Atlas at $34,600, they're all right there in that mid-size range with 3 rows available. But if I was going to go look at these, I have a tendency to look really hard at this one based on my experience in it for the week. And that's my review of the 2023, let me get it right, Kia Telluride SX Prestige X Pro V6 all-wheel drive vehicle.
I need a nap.
Exactly. Trying to wrap your head around that. Man, whatever happened to things like the Chevy Nova?
There you go.
Or the Chevy 2 or
Whatever
It's
it
a
is.
cool car. Next.
yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, it's made for the different trim levels. That's why they do it that way.
Yeah,
And
and again, they it cuts down on the options. You
how
package it together.
about trim level A, or trim level 1,
That's not exciting.
or trim level 2?
And can you mix and match the trim levels?
Well,
Take one of
no,
this to that and this
No.
to that.
No.
That's the reason you put them in the trim level, so it's
Well,
it's easier.
hey.
It's cheaper, I believe, to market it that way. To where here, probably, yeah, because you don't have so many one-offs. Yeah, you reduce the.
would you know you do all of us a big favor if you get on microphone when you make these conversations, because we can't comprehend what it is you're trying to say, and I can't say it. So,
There you go.
and since he only had one event, I'm going to throw out that don't forget the.
Yep. I'm with you.
Well, go ahead and say it.
Granbury.
We have a remote broadcast in Granbury, Texas coming up. What is that? 3 weeks away, Mars?
Yes, 3 weeks from today, as a matter of fact.
So we are going to trek northward to the southern extremities of Fort Worth, Texas.
Southwestern Fort
Yeah.
Worth.
And
30 minutes out.
Yeah,
Wonderful city of Granbury.
it is, but it's hard to get there from here. There's no interstate freeway that goes to Granbury. You can get up there either to the west or the east of it, but then you got to trek across through things like Ennis, Waxahachie, places like that.
Waxahachie? I thought it was Waxahachie.
Waxahachie.
Midlothian, the speed trap.
Theoretically,
Midlothian.
theoretically,
No,
it's
theoretically,
Theoretically, it's Waxahachie.
that's what everybody used to call it. Waxahachie.
Waxahachie.
Because it's spelled W-A-X. It's Waxahachie, though. It's not.
Ooh-wee.
All
This
right.
has been a Filmways presentation, darling. I love that.
You know why it doesn't surprise me that you watch the Beverly Hillbillies.
No, that's Green Acres. I'm a Ava Gabor fan.
Oh, you are?
Oh yeah.
Well,
There's 3 sisters, Ava, Jaja, and I think Trixie or something like that.
Trixie.
I think it was
I
Trixie.
can't believe that it would be Trixie.
Well, it's
See, I thought you were, was it Fred the Pig? What was the pig's name?
Arnold.
Arnold the
Arnold
Pig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dude's smart.
What's Arnold's last name?
Pig.
Arnold Ziffel.
Ziffel, that's
Ziffel,
it. Yeah.
right.
I don't
Come
pay
on.
much attention to the animals.
Now, you know, we have a gentleman, a PhD, that is listening.
Going, what
And,
did I
he,
get
and,
involved
and
in?
he's looking at it going, what did I get myself into? well, Doc, guess what? You're up next,
Yep.
so don't move, and we'll be back with you here in just a second. In Real Time Car Talk Show continues right after this. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around, and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In Real Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6, or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. It's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, Dr. Robert Hanfield on the supply chain outlook when it comes to automobiles. Later, we'll have the stories making automotive news headlines this week, along with some other little goodies and tidbits here and there about Auto World. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad you could join us on this Saturday. And speaking of joining us, he's joining us right now. It's Dr. Robert Hanfield. Are you a professor at North Carolina State?
Yes, sir. Go Wolfpack.
And what?
Go Wolfpack.
Go Wolfpack. Absolutely. Well, we're right there with you. And I understand also, are you a member of the Institute for Operations Research and Management Sciences?
Yes, sir. I am as well.
Which is an acronym for that is INFORMS.
Oh,
and I say all of this because I wanted to know a little bit more about you and the credentials that you bring with you, because you study supply and demand and supply shortages in the automobile industry.
That's correct. Yeah, I've studied supply chains, which are suppliers and buyers and sellers and distributors. I've studied those for 33 years, and I can tell you I've had more media hits in the last 3 years than I have in my entire career.
Well, I will tell you that I never even thought about supply chains until the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden everybody's going, well, wait, where are my computer chips? We don't have any computer chips. Toilet paper, stupid things that what is going on? So let's focus our attention, if you don't mind, into the automobile business and the supply chains. And I don't really kind of understand why we have a supply chain issue because why? Because people couldn't get to work to make the microchips?
Well, in short, it's a bunch of different things that happened all at once. And for a really long time, automotive supply chains have in fact been very fragile. And we've outsourced a lot of the production to places like China and India and overseas. And what happened is, first of all, during COVID, you had the stay-at-home orders, so everyone had to stay at home. So people who were working in factories didn't go in, and so production was shut down. Number two, the ports became log-jammed, especially the port of LA, which gets about 30% of all imports into the U.S. comes through Los Angeles. And that port was bottlenecked, and they couldn't get things through. And then the third element, of course, were the material shortages. There just wasn't enough material to produce these items. And semiconductor chips are one of those. And people forget you only need one part to not show up, and you can't ship that entire vehicle, right? It only takes one part to shut down production of a vehicle. If you don't have it, you can't ship the final vehicle.
Well, as a matter of fact, to that end, I mean, Ford Motor Company, there's a perfect example. They would build the car and then stick it on a lot until the next part that they needed, microchip, came in. Mm-hmm. And they had cars all scattered throughout Detroit that were ready to go, except for that one little itty-bitty thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then the other thing, of course, was labor shortages. During COVID, a lot of people retired, and so a lot of factories had and distributors had problems getting people to come in and work. So there were massive labor shortages. And you put all of that together, and there were a lot of problems within the automotive supply chain.
How do we stand today?
Well, things have gotten a lot better, and one reason for that is the big three and other automobile companies have figured out that they need to start monitoring what's happening in their supply chain. And, in the past, they relied primarily on what they call their tier one suppliers, the companies like Lear Seating, Johnson Controls, Magna, some of those big tier one suppliers.
Sure.
They said, well, you guys handle everything below that. Well, they realized that sometimes these tier one suppliers weren't monitoring what was happening in upstream in the supply chain, in what they call their tier two suppliers, the suppliers to the suppliers. And so companies like GM, and I interviewed a guy from GM, and he said, look, we're tracking and mapping out who is in these supply chains. And we're talking to these suppliers, and we're figuring out, wow, we've got some big vulnerabilities, and we need to, get second sources. We need to get additional suppliers as a backup, because perhaps we're relying on one particular supplier for all of these components, and we didn't even realize it.
Well, I will tell you that when people ask, because I've been doing this talk show stuff now for quite some time, and I will tell you, automotive anyway, and I will tell you that most people really don't understand how a car is built. Mm-hmm. They think that the car manufacturers make the parts. No, they don't anymore. I think at one time that they did.
Early on they did,
but they don't anymore, and they are basically assemblers of automobiles, and they buy parts from all over the world.
Componentry comes in on a train. And
just-in-time process.
Plug and play. Well, just-in-time has been part of the issue, because when something doesn't show up in time, just park it out back.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, or either that or just shut down the entire assembly line.
Which they don't want to do.
No. Correct. Well, because for one little measly part, they can run it back through there and fix that part, or send it on to the dealer and let the dealer install it. I mean, there's so many layers to all of this. Well, what has changed since, let's just say in the past year? What's changed? Because now we're starting to see cars come back on car lots again, new cars, and the used car market is changing rapidly right now. A lot of big changes going on.
Yeah, I think we're in a much better place than we were, say, even last year. You'll notice there is a lot more inventory on the lots. If you want a special order vehicle, that isn't in red, white, or black, you might have to wait a little longer for it if you want a specific color. If you want a specific custom package vehicle, you might have to wait a little longer. But other than that, the inventory is pretty good. And what happened is car companies figured it out. They've started ordering more chips in advance. They have long lead times on these chips. They buy them in advance. They put them in inventory. They're relying less on that just-in-time system, which means they're carrying more inventory of parts and components, and they're requiring their suppliers to do that.
Why is it? This is just my belief. I don't have the figures. You do. Throughout all of this, Tesla has never stopped making cars, to my knowledge. They've always made cars. They weren't really affected like the big three have been. So how did they avoid this? Because they don't make as many cars?
Well, they don't make as many cars, but the other thing is they were pretty smart. you know, love him or hate him, you know, their CEO is a smart guy and he's an engineer. And one of the things they did is they redesigned their vehicles so they weren't reliant on the same chips that were in short supply, you know, during 2021, 2022. So they were able to continue to build vehicles using different chips that were more plentiful than the ones that were in short supply. And, you know, the chip market, I could go on and on about semiconductor chips, but a chip is not a chip. And believe it or not, most of the chip manufacturing that's going on in the world is for the smaller chips. Most of the automotive sector uses the larger standardized chips, and capacity of those is the ones that's causing problems. So, you know, it's every supply chain has their own issues, and you have to understand those and you have to dig in and figure it out. And I think that's what Tesla did.
But also, supply chain issues can erupt from unfriendly governments wanting to impact the economy of the United States. And I think that's been a part of
or
it.
the world, right?
What's going on with China. They were overly dependent, and tell me if I'm wrong, overly dependent on China for component
products
that weren't coming out of China, be it because of their COVID restrictions there in China, or my personal opinion is their desire to destroy the U.S. economy.
Well, no, you're exactly right. You know, China shut down their borders during COVID and have continued to restrict components. You know, one of the things, my personal pet peeve is around electric vehicles. If you look at the 7, what they call the green metals, nickel, cobalt, silver, lithium, China has essentially cornered all of the mining for all of those materials. And they've also cornered all of the refining processes. So, you know, people are saying, well, we're going to move to 40% EVs by 2030. Ain't no way that's going to happen because China is going to control all of those resources for EVs. And so I think we're headed into a difficult period where I don't think we're going to grow the EV market to the extent possible. I think I'm going to keep my combustion engine for some time here.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about China destroying the U.S. economy. Our politicians will.
Okay.
Well, there's that. Yeah. The other thing is that I've read that there are several battery manufacturing plants, massive plants that are in process of being built today. But even building today doesn't mean that they're going to turn out batteries here in the United States anytime soon.
Yeah.
They got to get all of the equipment to do that.
And the raw material.
Once the building is built.
Well, that's absolutely right. And it takes a huge amount of equipment to build those. The mines that we have today are not capable of producing the level of minerals that are required to build that level of EV battery. On top of that, if you look like at cobalt, there's a book that's out, Cobalt Red, that describes the working conditions in those mines in the Congo, which is 40% of the world's cobalt. It's horrific. It's child labor, workers getting injured, and it's all run by the Chinese. So, you know, I think there's some real problems with the EV supply chain that people are not aware of. And, you know, new mines, it takes 20 years to build a mine. Who's going to invest in an investment that is not going to pay out for 20 years? So there's some real problems in the infrastructure for these electric vehicles.
Particularly the way technology is changing. You know, 20 years from now, what we know just is useless, possibly.
Yeah.
You're in education, so tell me, what is the education process like when it comes to supply chain? You teach the methods that go into all of this. So these kids that are graduating from North Carolina State, what are they learning? What degree do they have? Where are they going once they graduate?
How can they help?
Yeah, well, you know, we have a unique program at NC State. We have something called the Supply Chain Resource Cooperative, and we partner with companies. And then what we'll do is we'll have undergraduate and MBA students, and we'll plop them into the middle of a company problem. So the company will say, hey, we don't have enough of this kind of material, or we're having quality problems or what have you. And we'll have the students work over 15 weeks with that company. And, they learn how to collaborate. They learn how to call a meeting. They learn how to work with data. They learn how to solve problems. And I think that's what we need in supply chain is problem solvers, people who can deal with real world problems and be creative in trying to figure out how to solve those problems.
I find it fascinating. You, what a great job! What a wonderful thing.
I love my job.
Yeah, I was just going to say. I mean, you place these kids in major corporations, and they figure out things where the problems lie within the company to figure it out and make suggestions to. What are you laughing at?
Because some of the problems are senior management in these corporations.
Well, there's that. Yeah.
That's
stuck in the old
story.
school. Yeah.
No, we put them in the thick of things, and I'll tell you, some of these kids are so creative because they're looking at it differently. They're not like old farts like you and me. They're looking at it from a whole new perspective, and sometimes they come up with some really creative insights, and that's what we need. Our young people trying to solve these problems that we're having.
Yeah,
they don't have they can't do.
Yeah, they don't have the bad habits of experience.
Exactly.
Exactly right. Yeah.
So what kind of degrees are these students graduating with?
Most of them get a Bachelor of Science. We also have a number of industrial engineering students that come over and take our classes. And then we also have an MBA in supply chain. So we're in a business school, we're teaching business, but we give them a lot of tools on how to deal with a lot of data, how to structure problems, how to map out business processes, how to, explore supply chains and understand the intricacies of what's going on in these supply chains. If you don't understand it, you can't solve the problem, right?
Right.
What quality of students are you getting these days? Do you find that things are progressing along really quickly and the kids that are coming out of high schools around the United States coming to your school, are they educated to the point where you can teach them and they're readily available and they can graduate in 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, they do. We have a lot of kids who come in and they've never even heard of supply chain management. They don't know what it is or how it works. The first time they're exposed to it, they say kind of a light goes on and they say, hey, this is fun. This is interesting. I want to work in this area. And if you can believe it, the number of positions for graduating supply chain majors has doubled in the last year. So more and more companies realize they need these type of kids, young men and women to come in. And we're really promoting it for young women too. This is not just a men's engineering position, because a lot of times the young women are much more creative than the guys are, believe it or not.
Well, it's
okay, now I've got to ask a question before we let you go. And would you please explain to everybody what in the hell is going on with toilet paper? What is that about? What happened?
Who created that?
He didn't
problem?
ask about baby formula. He's asking.
I'm asking about toilet paper.
We never had a problem with capacity of toilet paper. Almost all the toilet paper is made in the U.S. is actually produced in the U.S. We had what was called hoarding behavior. And hoarding occurs when there's a perceived scarcity. And that's what happened is everybody went out and started clearing out the shelves and storing it in their garage. And I am guilty of the same thing. My wife went crazy on toilet paper. We just worked through our garage inventory of toilet paper last week.
Someplace in Oklahoma, there is a big garage full of
there's a big garage full of toilet paper.
Vintage.
Yeah, no kidding. Well,
barn find toilet paper.
Barn find toilet paper. You know that's going to happen. Well, there's some toilet paper in there, Martha, from 1955. What do you know what happened?
Smells like corn cob.
Well, Doc, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a a real pleasure to talk to you.
Very enlightening.
Go Wolfpack.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You wipe them up out there. Okay. Thanks again. We appreciate you. All right. Robert Hanfield. And what a great interview.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Well, it's good to see that there are people learning how to deal with this being placed into corporations as opposed to the guy in the order desk that has no clue what he's doing.
Nobody ever thought of it. Have you ever thought about it before this?
A little bit, but not at this level. Not realizing that, you
back
can't
in
get stuff.
Some college classes, you had to deal with some of that stuff, but it was basically around the just-in-time ideas and stuff.
Right.
But everything has been so readily available. You walk into Walmart or wherever, and you get what you want.
Right.
And then once, like you said, for a lot of reasons there.
That's where I've seen you, on the People of Walmart.
Thank you. There's website. Yeah, I'm the guy in the blue shirt.
That's it. Oh, my God.
But, it's just stuff is so readily available.
And the hot pants.
And now there is more stuff out there, but some of it's post-dated. I mean, it's already hitting the expiration date. It's still sitting on the shelf.
But the toilet paper, there's a perfect example. You got a use-by date on them now.
Does it?
No.
Do not buy the reusable.
The recycled?
The reusable. Don't buy that.
Well,
we've lost control again.
Just a little later in the day.
Here's an example. Who would have ever thunk in a million years the Suze gets a diet of dry dog food and a big dollop of pumpkin. Now, not pumpkin pie filling, just pumpkin, okay? Out of a can. Mm-hmm. During the pandemic, the pumpkin, the regular plain, not the filling now, just the regular pumpkin in a can, they run out. All the time they'd run out. Now, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that there aren't pumpkins somewhere being grown and they grind them up and put them in the can? No. People were staying at home and making pumpkin pies. And they put their own sugar in it and whatever else that goes in the pumpkin pie filling.
Go up to Hempstead and buy the pumpkin.
Whatever. No, I don't buy it. No, it's processed pumpkin. It's not the whole damn pumpkin.
Yeah. Yeah,
I see your point. It's part of the recipe that she has for her lifestyle.
Right.
And even the dog was affected by it.
Yes, the dog was affected by it. All right. Time now for some of the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Electric vehicles are still tough to find at most U.S. dealerships, according to a survey by the Sierra Club. The group said 66% of those surveyed didn't have any EVs in stock. Of those stores, 44% say they would sell EVs if they could get them, but 45% said they would not sell EVs no matter what.
Wow.
Because they're being forced to put in infrastructure into the dealership.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars.
If not $1 million.
And the training involved on top of that.
Right.
Yeah. They said, no, we're not doing it. And I don't blame them. I mean, if you've just think about it. There are a lot more small dealerships across the United States than there are these ginormous mega
there's
stores.
There's a lot less of them than there used to be, but yeah.
And we have mega stores here in Houston compared to them.
You still have some of the mom and pop shops.
Yes,
we do.
Exactly.
Further on the outskirts, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or, in Elgin, Texas or whatever.
Well, you got Ryan out there on the I-10 going west. Ryan Ford dealership.
Ford.
Yeah.
Yep. Speaking of dealerships, Leslie Doggett Industries, Doggett Automotive Group,
They used to be on
bought
45.
3 dealerships from Craig Kinsel and Joe Bob Kinsel of Kinsel Motors and the Kinsel family in a transaction this month. The Houston Auto Group acquired Kinsel Toyota, Kinsel Ford Lincoln, and Kinsel Mazda. The dealerships were renamed Doggett Toyota of Beaumont, Doggett Ford Lincoln of Beaumont, and Doggett Mazda of Beaumont.
Yeah, it's family owned for 60-something years.
They have a huge industrial machinery, earth movers and stuff up on 45, the North Freeway.
Well, their Ford store is where Landmark Chevrolet used to be.
Yep.
Well, what was the Ford store's name before that, before they moved? I can't remember that. Before it was Doggett, there was another Ford dealer up there.
I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember.
I was going to say Lone Star, but I don't think
That's
that's
it.
right. Was it Lone Star?
Lone Star.
The company in 2018 bought its first auto retail dealership, the former Lone Star Ford in Houston.
There you
Here
go.
is.
That's it.
Previously owned by
Jeff could see what you're thinking.
Previously owned by Sonic Automotive. It also is a longtime Toyota material handling dealer, the company said. So
forklifts.
Forklifts and front end loaders,
industrial
and stuff like
commercial.
And they've got a monster operation up on 45, just north of the Shepherd Curve.
Yes.
Is that the Shepherd Curve? Is that what they call
Canino.
it?
Yeah, it's Shepherd Curve.
El Camino.
No, Canino. Come on. You got to do better than that. The average age of vehicles in use in the United States has continued to increase for a sixth straight year.
Yeah.
Average age of cars and light trucks in the U.S. is now 12 and a half years, more than 3 months over the 2022 average, according to an S&P Global Mobility report released Monday. It is the largest yearly increase in the average age of the U.S. fleet since 2008. For now, older vehicles on the road are boosting the U.S. vehicle service industry. S&P Global Channel Forecast estimates the revenues of the U.S. light-duty aftermarket grew by about 8.5% in 2022 and may grow by 5% or more in 2023.
I believe it.
Yeah. So, keeping the car running. Got to do it.
Keeping the car. Can't afford to trade it in. Don't want to buy an EV.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep my old car, my gas burner.
If you treat it right, there's no reason for it not to last.
True.
All the
keep it
maintained.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to get the Corvette brake fluid changed again because I had it done a year and a half ago.
Should be every 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Because it's already turning black again.
Yep.
And it's like, what? I just had that change, so I think I'm going to do that again this year. A woman has been charged with felony embezzlement for allegedly stealing about $250,000 from a Toyota dealership when it was in Louisville, I'm not sure, Mississippi. Local radio station WTOK reported. Louisville is in the eastern Mississippi area, northeast of Jackson. Letitia Jones Smith, 50, was formerly the comptroller for Doc's Toyota, according to WTOK. She had been let go by Doc's Toyota on January 5th for matters unrelated to the charges, according to the station. The store had been auditing its books in the intervening months. Smith is also facing additional charges of felony embezzlement in Neshoba County, Mississippi, where Doc's Toyota is now located. She's accused of stealing about $71,000 there. Okay.
Well, when all that money flows through the hands of one person and nobody's paying attention.
No checks and balances.
Yeah.
Well, lots of checks.
Just no balance.
There's no balances. And by the way, this past week, the Toyota Tacoma, the new redesigned Toyota Tacoma, with the possible exception of the RAV4 compact crossover, no nameplate in Toyota's U.S. lineup is more important to the brand than the Tacoma midsize pickup, not just because of sales, but also the way it continues to dominate the competition, albeit with less of a stranglehold than it had before. But the new redesigned 2024 Tacoma fights off other midsize rivals with hybrids, new trims, and technology. So go to Toyota.com and
is
take
that
a
going to
look
be
at
built
it.
in San Antonio as well?
Yes, it is.
So buy Texan.
Buy Texan.
Yep.
Hey, that's it for this hour of the In-Wheel Time Card Talk Show. We continue with hour number 3 right after this. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on In-Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In-Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise Inn, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In-Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. From the Smoke and Mirrors Network, it's the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we talk with Alan Rudolph with Speed Sports Racing Park and Academy. I got to drive the 2023 Lexus ES350. I'm excited to tell you all about it. We'll also have the cruise-in calendar. Conrad has This Week in Auto History. And I'll bring you the stories making automotive news headlines just ahead on this hour of the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show. Howdy, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, King Conrad DeLong. We always need more Jeff Zekin. I'm Don Armstrong. Thanks so much for joining us on this Saturday. Our last hour of our show. Our show normally airs from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Saturday morning in the live version. And then we do podcasts, and Mars takes care of all of the rebroadcasting of all the segments and stuff like that. So thank you, Mr. Mars, for your duty.
It's a duty.
It's a duty. I said duty on the radio. Alan Rudolph is a legend. I'm going to read this because I think it's very well written, and I think that it kind of explains who Alan is, and we all need to know who Alan is. Alan Rudolph is a legend in the karting community, the winner of multiple awards. Alan has stood on the podium in all disciplines of karting, including sprint, road racing, and oval, most notably 5-time SKUSA King of the Streets. He was multiple championships under his belt and is the recipient of the Dan Weldon Ambassador to Karting Award, and was recently voted into the inaugural class of the SKUSA Hall of Fame. Alan has trained well-known drivers who went on to be professional careers in driving, including NASCAR driver Chase Elliott. Alan is a fiercely competitive guy, championship-winning race driver, and brings expertise and experience to Houston, Texas through Speed Sports Racing Park and the Alan Rudolph Racing Academy. Alan, it's a pleasure to have you with us today. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate that.
Well, that's quite an impressive resume that you've got there. Tell me where Speed Sports Racing Park is.
We're actually in New Caney, Texas, just north of Kingwood off of 59 and 242. So just 30 minutes from downtown, 20 minutes from the Woodlands, perfectly located.
And that thing was built, I remember flying over it, a couple years ago, 3 years ago?
Believe it or not, it's approaching 7 years now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Time flies.
Apparently it does. So 7 years now. And do you rent go-karts up there?
Kind of do it all, to be honest. I have, if you've seen the layout of the facility, it's 2 separate racetracks. One is primarily for open to the public rental carts, so arrive and drive, we call it. I do a lot of corporate groups and stuff. So yesterday we had a group of 50 people that did a buyout of the facility and rode our rental carts and had lunch and beer and wine after. And so that's all happens on the rental tracks.
We were kind of hoping that the beer and wine would precede
Before
the racing.
Yeah.
No.
Drinking and driving going on here. But that's on the rental side. So day-to-day burn over there is just open to the public Wednesday through Sunday. And then, like on Saturdays, we open at noon. We go till 10 p.m. Sundays, noon to 6. And so you can just come bring family, friends, whatever, and ride our rental carts. And then the other track is what we refer to as our pro track. And that's open to members who have their own go-karts. And as you alluded to in your original email to me, we do car stuff too. So we do drifting now, and the Portrait Club is going to be here today doing autocross. It's a unique way. If you know anything about autocross is generally done in a big empty parking lot with a bunch of cones. Mm-hmm. So instead, they treat our track like an autocross, and it honestly works out way better than being on a cone course.
Well, I will tell you that I have done autocross, and for the most part, it's a first gear kind of thing. But I'll tell you what, it certainly does test your driving skills, getting around those cones as fast as you can without spinning out or making horrible mistakes and running over cones and making a fool of yourself is basically it.
Yeah.
So, do you, on those kind of things where you bring your own car? Let's just say the Corvette Club comes out and they want to run. I don't know anything about autocrossing, and do you supply or would you ride with somebody like me that doesn't know anything about it?
I have done that in the past, do a little coaching. There's a particular car club that comes out once a month called Track Casual, and some of those guys want me to do a little right seat driving with them for some coaching, and I do that. But in general, like this Portrait Club, they run the show. They come and rent the track from me for the day. And they set up their own little timing system and keep track. Autocross is a timed event, so they set all that up. I'm really hands off on that type of stuff. Same with the drifting.
And you said that the club that you had out recently, you served them lunch and wine and beer and had a great time. Is that pretty typical of what you offer up there?
Yeah, on the rental track side of things. The open to the public rental carts, like I said, that's a Wednesday through Sunday event.
Right.
And people come out and race and have a beer, glass of wine afterwards or whatever. Can make kind of I don't say a day of it, but people hang out here for 2-3 hours, get some go-kart racing in, and have fun doing it. And just recently, 2 weeks ago, a food truck court opened up right across the street. So it's a really unique environment where people can come hang out with the food truck. It's called the Food Zone. They can go there and have lunch and come over here and ride go-karts. So
how fun. So what kind of rental carts do you have? Not that I would know the name brand of them, but give me a little background on the rental carts.
Yeah, so they're not your typical, the thing about go-karting is when you say go-karts, both on the rental kart side and on the racing side, if you're not familiar with the stuff, when you say go-karts, people are like, oh, yeah, I have, a yard cart. I got a go-kart in my yard I ride around. It's nothing like that. Or, like typical amusement park ride go-kart where you can put your kid next to you and you don't wear a helmet and they go about 20 miles an hour. That's not what these are. These are rental carts that are open to the public, go about 40 or 45 miles an hour.
Wow, that's fast when you got your butt about an inch off the ground.
Yeah, we like to say they're faster than the track, so you actually have to slow down for some of the corners. You cannot go full gas all the way around or you'll fly off the tracks. It's just a much different experience. A lot of people are familiar with indoor karting, but those are all electric. Ours are gas-powered. Electric karts are very controlled in how fast they'll let you go, plus the tracks are really small. My rental kart track is half of a mile long. Takes the average person about 50 seconds to do a lap. And so it's thrilling. It's unlike anything else you're used to.
What kind of engines are on those?
They have a little Honda, like a Honda GX270 it's called. It's essentially a generator engine, about 9.5 horsepower.
How many horsepower?
9.5.
9.5?
That's quite a bit.
That's a lot. I'm used to the old Briggs & Stratton 2 horsepower. Lawnmower motors.
3.5 with a blower.
Yeah.
That's it. And I assume that got a centrifugal clutch on it?
Yeah. Yep. Pretty simple, gas and brake. That's all you have to worry about.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about. So I was involved for a while up at Houston Motorsports Park, and there was a group, I think they're out of Austin, and these are grown men on go-karts going really fast on a 3/8 mile asphalt banked oval, and what an absolute blast. And I'm just watching them go on, and they all know each other. They're all friends. They all help each other. But when they get out of the track, it's a whole different thing.
Absolutely. That's racing in general, right? I mean, the racing community is, we're all a tight-knit family, and everyone knows everybody, and everyone's helpful and friendly. But when you strap on the helmet and jump in the car, it's game on. And so everyone wants to win and do their best.
Well, you had mentioned in your resume here, sprint, road racing, and oval. Now, I don't tell me what the difference is. Well, obviously, sprint is what?
So my kart track right here, the one that's behind me, is a sprint track. So an average sprint track is, call it a small road course, right?
Yeah.
My track is 0.8 of a mile, 15 corners. That's a sprint track. Road racing is when we take and go to Road America, Road Atlanta, Laguna Seca, any of those big tracks, those are called road racing.
Wow, and you take the karts on those big tracks like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And what kind of speeds do you get up on those?
Well, it turns out I own the all-out lap record at Road America, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with Road America, but it's a 4-mile road course. And I was in a 250 twin supercart that made about 100 horsepower, and it went north of 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
With no roll bar and no sides, and you're just sitting out there all by yourself.
Yeah. No, it's kind of crazy. To be fair, I would never let my kid do it, and I wouldn't do it anymore. I'm a little more mature and wiser now, I suppose, but I can't believe I did. It was always a bucket list of mine to be able to race what's called a supercart, and finally got to do that for a couple of years, and it's so fast. You wouldn't believe how fast they are, but I did that. I'm not doing that again.
Well, I worked with a guy by the name of Lee Beard, who is a drag racing legend, and he was a driver early on, and then he went on to be a crew chief. And one or two of his sons, I think, were really into the competitive go-kart. And I remember him talking about the fact that it was really a step toward open-wheel racing. And so many of the open-wheel guys actually start in go-karts like you were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say every Formula One driver did karting and still does. Most IndyCar guys, believe it or not, even NASCAR guys, the majority of them, you either pick one of two routes. You either pick karting or you pick roundy round, something of starting bandoleros and move on to midgets and sprint cars or whatever. Or in Chase Elliott's case, he started off in karting. They did karting and then moved on to stock cars and the ARCA type things. So he kind of did it all.
What is it about go-karting that is so relative and actually one of those things that all of these people that you hear about, these famous people, go to go-karting? What is it about the go-kart that is so relatable to moving up into actual full-blown race cars?
Well, for me, you can start at a very young age. Believe it or not, karting here at our track starts at 5 years old. The first age group is 5 to 7 or 8 years old, and they just keep on going. So you can start at a very young age. To me, it's one of the purest and rawest forms of racing next to, call it sprint cars, There's a reason Kyle Larson constantly does races sprint cars and late models and all that other stuff. And so for me, karting has always been like the purest wheel-to-wheel action. By the time these kids turn 16, they've had 8 years or 9 years of racing experience under their belt, and it makes it real easy to make things happen in a go-kart so much faster
to jump to the next level
in a real race car.
Yep.
The closest thing to the fastest go-kart out there is what we refer to as a shifter kart. The closest thing to a shifter kart is really somewhere about IndyCar or Formula One level. And so in terms of how quick things happen, the endurance level that it takes, and so jump out of a go-kart and jump into a car, and a car almost feels slow motion. So these kids that have 8 years of racing under their belt, by the time they jump in a car, it almost seems effortless.
I worked with a young man, a gentleman, Jim McMurray, when I was with Keystone. His son was Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, Jamie and I are longtime friends.
Jamie started out in shifter karts, and I think his first NASCAR run was in the Craftsman truck. And then he took over Sterling Marlin's ride, the number 27, and then progressed through that through his own skills and whatnot. Now he's a commentator. But yeah, I've known Jamie when he was in shifter karts. Imagine that.
Yeah. Now, Jamie and I, Jamie's from Joplin, Missouri. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and we grew up as kids racing together all the time. His dad's still involved in go-karting.
Jim is a character.
Yeah.
So why would a professional race car driver, let's just use it NASCAR, run a race on an oval track and then go back to karting? Is it just to keep the skills honed?
Yeah. Yeah, it's skill set and your reaction time and the physical training. And now, to be honest, the NASCAR runs a lot of road courses.
Yes.
And one of the key successes to being successful on the road course is knowing how to do it. I mean, and loving to do it. If you ask Chase Elliott, why he's so successful on the road courses, is because he just loves driving a road course.
Now, are those shifter karts that they use on the road courses?
Either one, shifter, non-shifter, any of that stuff.
Really? And with the shifter karts, now, what kind of a transmission does it have? And how do you shift it?
Well, think of it like a motorcycle. It used to be motorcycle, like a CR125 motorcycle dirt bike engine.
Yep.
And the gear shift lever is hooked to a rod that's up by the steering wheel, and it's just forward and back like you would motorcycle.
I got you.
Or like a
Nowadays,
paddle shifter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the paddle. People have rigged up paddles in the past. The problem is karting is so physically demanding as it is. The moment you start doing this all the time, then you get crazy arm pump. And it's just not as quick of an action by just grabbing the correct rod and boom, 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 boom. It happens so fast.
Is there a clutch on it?
Yeah. I mean, just it's like a motorcycle.
Yep.
It's a motorcycle engine, right?
Interesting.
So the clutch lever is up by the steering wheel. But the only time you ever use it is to start the race. So the unique thing about shifter karts is the way they start the race is Formula One style. They're all lined up.
Yes.
Backed up, and then the green flag throws, and everyone can bump the clutch. Away you go. Each shift without the clutch.
How much fun!
Kind of like a clutch flight. The old clutch flights you'd rig up to where launch with a clutch, and then after that you just shift it like an automatic.
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Wow.
All right, we're all coming out to your place.
Do you give lessons? I mean, if I've got a 5-year-old and I want to get him exposed to karting, do you have an entry-level lesson thing going on up there?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's part of the resume you read there. It mentioned Allen Rudolph Racing Academy. So that's my school. I teach people how to drive, and that's from the 5 or 6 year old that you mentioned that just wants to get into it to somebody that's more advanced and has years of experience. But the day-to-day, to be honest, I do classes every day. That's called a kart racing experience. And guys like you can come out, bring a couple buddies, and I get you right behind the wheel of one of our 125cc Rotax single-speed go-karts, not a shifter.
Right.
And it's a little 2-hour program. It's $249, and we get to ride out on track, do a little safety briefing, and away we go.
So would it have room for Don's oxygen tanks?
My oxygen tank.
Could disguise it as nitrous.
As a little older guy, but no, but like a 5-year-old, is it? Do you have smaller carts or pedal extensions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for each of the categories, from that 5 to 7, 8-year-old range is called a kid cart, and it's small. And then from 7/8 up to 12, they're in what's called a cadet cart. It's sort of a medium-sized cart. And then anything 12 and above, you're in what's referred as a full.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Don's a new grandfather, and he's got plans for the grandson.
Clearly do. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, speaking of which, so let me ask you this: Do you have like a gift certificate program? I mean,
yeah, you can on our website you can buy gift certificates on there for both the classes and our Arrive and Drive. It's just a gift certificate that can be used for the facilities. That's on our website. Great for gift buying ideas for birthdays, Christmas. We sell a lot of gift cards at Christmas time and stuff.
Yeah, my son's old enough that he got a full-time job and everything, grown man, buys what he wants, and so I have a hard time getting him things that are kind of different.
There you go.
And that's what popped into my mind. I said, man,
It's usually bail money.
they'll make up for all these.
Exactly.
That would be a great gift.
No doubt. Alan, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
How do we find out more information about the Speed Sports Racing Park?
Go to the website. It's simple, speedsportsracingpark.com. And that Speed Sports with a Z. There's a Z on the end as part of our logo. So Speed Sports with a Z on the end, racingpark.com.
Yeah,
We'll
I've just posted it on our social media.
We'll be in touch. Thank you. Maybe we'll come out one day and just and have a tear it up out there. Well, maybe not tear it up, but
No, don't tear it up. You're not allowed to tear it up.
well, we'll tear it up. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Alan, thanks again. Take care of yourself.
That's cool.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
I'm thinking Kylie.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. His granddaughter.
Well, there's also the mini dragsters too that
Well,
she
yeah.
was fitted in last year.
Yep. Time now for the cruise-in calendar, and Conrad has that.
I got more than one.
Okay.
More than one calendar?
But just don't make it any more than a minute.
Muffin and Mufflers at Darlin's Diner in Flatonia, Texas, is this afternoon at 11 to 4. Everybody's got a new name. And, of course, Nifty 50s on Buckthorn Place in the Woodlands is tonight from 3 to 10. Shootout Saturday at Houston Motorsports Park is this afternoon. It starts at 4 p.m. Night Lights is 5 to 9 p.m. Off of Gessner Road in Houston. The Cypress West Houston Vintage Car Meetup at the Twisty Treat at Fry Road in Cypress, Texas starts at 6 p.m. tonight. Wheels and Wine at Bordeaux Vino Wine Bar
Oh, there you go.
at Research Forest in the Woodlands starts tonight at 6 p.m. Tomorrow is classic car show. That's hard to read. 707 Del Webb Boulevard in Richmond, Texas. The Car Church at the Segundo Coffee Lab at 711 Milby in Houston. And then the Tomball Locals Car Meet at Coles at 2920 in Tomball. And that's tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Time now for this hour's car review. Had a chance to drive the 2023 Lexus ES350. Here are the trim levels that are available. It starts off as the ES350. That's the base trim level. Then it goes to luxury, ultra luxury, F Sport, design, and F Sport handling. I had the F Sport H, which stands for handling. This is a compact sedan, seats 5 people, including the driver, all new for 2019. Spindle grille with lots of sharp angled lighting features, fastback sedan design, very swoopy and very aero. F Sport includes trunk-mounted spoiler, on a Lexus, on an ES. Chrome dual exhaust tips mounted in the Aero Valance panel. What I liked about it, the overall look, very swoopy, a long 4-door saloon. Ooh, what could use improvement? Nothing. Interior highlights, beautiful new 12-inch infotainment touchscreen, and I want to underscore that because they have finally
Got rid of the mouse pad on the...
Yes.
Thank you, Lexus.
Thank you. The dash has angled design elements that mix well with its features. Wraparound, comfortable bucket seats. Mark Levinson sound system. This thing is just awesome. Trunk room, large, with a kind of a small opening, but that's just the way that these cars are these days. What I liked about it, no more touchpad controller for the infotainment system. Way to go, Lexus. What could use improvement? Help me find something. I can't find anything. I just love this car. 3.5-liter V6 engine.
More horsepower.
Nope. 302 horsepower, 267 pound-feet of torque, 8-speed automatic transmission. It's rated for 22 miles per gallon in the city, 31 on the highway, for a combined of 25. I got 27.7 miles per gallon over 423.9 miles. What I liked, perfectly matched power and transmission.
Well, that's good.
Don't change it. Ride and handling. Controllable, luxurious ride quality.
Swoopy.
That's what he said.
But
Swoopy
not
saloon.
yeah, but not a big cush machine, like the old Buicks. You just kind of float across. No, it wasn't all very controlled. Pricing. Base trim price is $47,800. To me, that's a bargain, my friend. That's the trim price.
Mm-hmm.
Prices tested $53,775.
Still not
big
bad
jump,
at all, yeah.
Base model price $41,440
For Lexus.
for a Lexus
Not bad.
ES350. Competitors: the Acura TLX for $39,850, the Volvo S60 for $41,300, and the Audi A4 for $39,900. All right there in that sweet spot. And I liked it. I like the affordability of it, and I love the luxury of it. And I am typically not necessarily going toward the luxury model. Don Armstrong, would buy this car.
It's a nice car.
I would buy that car.
If somebody'd loan you the money.
Well, for 53, that's really not bad. That's
it's not bad
at all.
No. Most SUVs these days,
well north of that.
Well north of
65
that.
at
This
least.
thing
Yeah.
is sweet. Sweet.
I got a birthday coming up, Mike.
It's about the fifth time he said that.
I'm going to make it. I'm going to write it down.
Why does he keep saying that?
Well, for
Because he's got a birthday coming up, and he wants us to
he's
buy him a
gonna
car.
Pool of money, and maybe that Eldorado
Buy you a
Barrettes would be
pool?
nice. Pool would be nice. Yeah.
There is a story that I have to get in here. This is not typically our automotive news segment, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Uh-oh.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
This is from this morning, automotive news.
Sit tight, Mike. Strap it on.
Prosecutors have charged 11 men with stealing 86 vehicles worth more than $5 million from several Ohio dealerships. The suspects are accused of taking expensive, high-powered models such as Dodge Charger SRT Hellcats and Jeep Grand Cherokee Trailhawks from 26 dealerships over 5 months. One showroom was robbed 3 times. A 142-count indictment unsealed last week includes charges of racketeering, conspiracy, grand theft, felonious assault, and aggravated robbery. 90 of the charges were filed against one man, 20-year-old Macklin Wilson, who was arrested in February after police said he led them on a high-speed chase in a stolen Dodge Durango SRT Hellcat.
Wow.
He and 8 other defendants, ages 18 to 22, were in custody last week, according to the Plains dealer in Cleveland.
No video?
Prosecutors said the men scoped out the dealerships during the day to locate security cameras and key fobs before going back overnight to steal the vehicles. Police believe they stole a total of 126 cars, but the charges relate only to 86 that were later found. One Mercedes-Benz was allegedly driven to Michigan and sold for $4,500.
Wow.
They were giving them away.
To Felonious.
To Felonious. Blood and DNA found on broken glass at 2 dealerships helped tie the men to the thefts, along with information gathered from cell phones and social media posts. At one dealership, prosecutors said some of the men gave a salesperson their real names while casing the showroom before stealing from them the same night.
Those are real villains in Ohio.
Villains and stupid.
And they left DNA behind.
Yeah. There's
in
that.
Ohio. So, yeah, you want to steal the car, go to Ohio.
The N-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for N-Wheel Time Car Talk. We also video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and nwheeltime.com. Podcasts at your fingertips on over a dozen of the most popular podcast outlets. The N-Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues right after these brief messages. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise-in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise-in date right here on N-Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In Real Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In Real Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, so now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Real Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InRealTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Real Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel. It's the In Real Time Car Talk Show. Coming up, we hope to talk to John Gaddis, owner of the Apocalypse Manufacturing Company. Conrad has This Week in Auto History. We'll get you caught up on the stories making car news this week. Howdy. Along with Mike, out of this world, Mars, who is out of this world actually right now.
Hey, it's been a good day.
His mind is in another place, which it normally is, but today especially.
He's at Topless Jeep Weekend.
Oh,
yeah.
Thinking about all these people invading his house.
Exactly.
He's headed there to defend.
We also have King Conrad DeLong, and we need more Jeff Zekin. I'm nobody.
Broadcast Hall of Famer, the Don Armstrong, the Channel 13 Eye in the Sky.
Okay.
All righty, Conrad.
There's enough of that.
His meds are kicking in.
Something's kicking in.
Is there something kicking in? Oh,
There you go. I knew you had it.
well, it's on the rundown page. I don't know. Mars just gave me a
Well, I
picture.
said there was a
of this
picture
thing.
on the bottom of your sheet. And that's what I saw.
Yes, that's the picture of the
Don
vehicle.
reacts to pictures.
Let's talk
That's
about
what Gabe's
Jeep
done.
Weekend down at the beach.
Stay away.
What a
I'm
fiasco.
hoping- yeah, stay away.
Who started that?
Well, it really started. It's a national day of Jeeps. The Jeep clubs all
Go
got
topless.
together. Yeah, and it's a big deal. It happens all across the country. It's just our location down here on Crystal Beach on the Bolivar Peninsula.
Where you have a house.
Yes, to the east of Galveston. It used to be a lot of Jeep stuff.
Well,
And-
the beauty of it, though, is your beach is allowed, vehicles on it.
Yes, you're allowed to drive on it.
So there'll be
And-
thousands of them there this weekend.
Yeah, and we, Conrad and I have been down there a couple of times when we were going down there in the show. We broadcast down there several years ago, and we've seen a lot of sights down there that we can't forget. And
Been
so
pouring bleach in my
we don't
ears
go
to
down
try.
there anymore.
And then we had the moron that tried to organize it.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
That was a huge mistake. Remember that?
Well,
Yeah.
and then they've had lots of police issues here.
Yeah.
Well,
the last
and-
few
and-
years
Well,
as
not police issues.
Criminal
police.
intents,
Yeah,
yeah.
we have criminals down there.
couple of years ago, they had a couple of high tides, and it pushed everybody off the beach, and everybody got jammed up on the road. There's a lot of stuff. Here, let me see if I can connect here with Joe. Hang on.
I think that I would avoid that.
Yeah.
At all costs.
Yeah, if
Think about how busy the ferry's going to be.
Well, it's called Topless Jeep Weekend, but there's not everybody has a Jeep. They've got these little
And
side
not
by side
everybody's
things.
topless.
Well, that's not the point. Take the top off the car, Conrad. But there's other vehicles, not necessarily Jeeps.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of ruins it.
Yeah, the 4x4s, the side-by-sides, and all that
Yep,
stuff.
And lots of alcohol and very little common sense.
That's what the problem is.
Yeah, that's the main problem. That was it. Last time we were there, I told Mars, I said, we will not be back to this. It was just absolute mayhem. And we got nothing out of it. Nothing. It was just a total pain. Is that guy that still have that bar down there? Yeah. What? Huh? Yeah, he's still got the bar. I'm surprised that's in business.
Yeah, the Tiki Bar. They've really got some good food there.
Tiki Bar.
You're such a liar.
No, they do.
Mars
If
goes
you go
there
at
quite
lunch, they've
often.
got some great food.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm going to get down there and go for lunch down
Okay.
at the Crystal Beach.
Yeah.
Well, fly in, Don. You got that helicopter.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, they got a grass airstrip there
No,
next door.
that's not happening.
Yeah, okay. So Joe's here.
Apocalypse Manufacturing. And his name is
Hey, Joe, guys.
Joe Gaddis. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Am I pronouncing your last name right?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. So, Joe, tell us about Apocalypse Manufacturing. What does it do?
So it's one side of our custom Jeep shop that we specialize in just ridiculous oversized trucks. We started out, taking Jeeps and turning them into six-wheelers, and it kind of evolved from there. Now we're, on to doing Defenders and converting cars to electric and jamming Demon engines and Hellcat engines and things that they don't belong in. We've even gotten into chopping up the Broncos and just you name it. All the bad ideas happen in that shop.
I like it.
At least he's honest
The
about
bad
it.
ideas come to fruition.
Yeah, exactly. I like it.
They come to life in that
There
shop.
you go.
You sent us a picture of, and I don't know what kind of a truck it is, but it's nothing that I've ever seen before. What is it?
It's the super truck model.
Is that what it is? It's the super
So-
truck?
Yeah, that's actually one of the few that I don't turn into a six-wheeler, just because the original platform is pretty awesome. You familiar with the Ram TRX?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Is that what this is?
Yeah.
I would have never guessed
Yeah, it
it.
starts life with the Ram TRX. It just gets injected about 200 cc's of testosterone, and there you have it.
Well, I can see that. I mean, it's got the most bizarre body panels on it and grill, and it doesn't look like anything. Maybe the
The
hood.
hood, yeah, the hood's recognizable now.
Yeah, that's about
There
it.
you go. That's the one piece I didn't change.
Well, you don't need to because the hood works for this.
It does.
So I would assume that you do more than just body panels and wheels and tires.
Absolutely. So this thing is born with a Hellcat. I take the pulley off of it, put a smaller pulley on there, get some more boost out of the supercharger, put a bigger set of injectors in there, bump the timing up, improve the tune dramatically because we're running a lot more air pressure through it. Have to put a bigger fuel pump system in there. And then we do what I call the piece de resistance, the killer chiller. So we actually involve the air conditioning system in cooling down the supercharger so that we don't lose the extra power we made.
Oh my gosh. You use the air
The
conditioner.
killer chiller.
The killer
I like
chiller.
The killer chiller.
That is so much fun. Where are you located?
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale. Oh my God! And he's laying out on the beach
We're
at
coming to
lunch
see
with
you.
cocktails with umbrellas in them.
Mike, we need a remote.
Yeah, this sounds like a road trip for us here in Houston, Texas.
Oh, we'd love to have you guys.
I'll bet. Well, I don't know as if we really want to subject ourselves to all of this mayhem out there. So how big is your shop? How many vehicles you got going at one time in there?
So we can get 80 trucks out every month. That's been our track record.
Wow.
We're about a 40,000 square foot operation with 79 guys.
Wow, man, that's huge. And are you? Do people bring their trucks to you, or do you go and buy a truck and do all this to it and sell it on your own?
Source it out.
I buy the trucks and do what I think is going to be cool, and then hope it sells.
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, this Apocalypse Super Truck really is cool. And do you manufacture those cool looking doors? How does that work?
So all that's made in house. We've got our shop chopped up into sections. We've got the metal fabrication machine shop side, and we've got the fiberglass side. So that front end there is all handmade out of metal. We'll cut that on the plasma and on the CNC, and then we'll put it on our jig and weld it all together to make that big front end. The fenders, I'll pull those off of my fiberglass mold that we created. The doors, they're a big fiberglass mold as well. The back is aluminum. That slants back top with a rolling lock built into it. The rear bumper is again, plasma cut and welded together. And then she'll go over to the engine side where we'll, take the intake manifold off and put our cooling system in there, put a smaller pulley on there, boost up the injectors, hook the computer up to the file, to the PCM and tune it. But the Super Truck is actually one of the quickest trucks to make it through my shop, because I don't have to cut the frame or do anything else. We make another version of it called the Juggernaut, which is almost identical, but it's got 6 wheels. And that one's got my hand-fabricated axle in it and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
So you're the off-road version of Bitchin' Rides.
I'll take that.
I'm surprised that you don't have your own television show.
Exactly.
Have you been approached yet?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. We got some secrets going on here.
Is this a secret? I shouldn't talk about it, or what?
I'm certainly not supposed to. So.
Well, hey, we brought it up, and we are on the cutting edge of a lot of this information as well.
Yeah.
We either on the cutting edge or we make it up. So
Yeah, one of the two.
Conrad's got your website pulled up on his computer, and those are some awesome looking rigs. They really are. I'll take a 6-wheeler.
I like the Warlord. That's
like
pretty
the Warlord.
cool.
I just
too.
want the Apocalypse Super Truck. That's the one that I want.
No, Mike's a Juggernaut kind of guy over there for Mike.
Send me an address. I'll get these things sent out.
We're trying to pull up the car so we can put it on our show here as we talk. But so how did you get started in this?
So 20 years ago, all my life I've been working on Jeeps and trucks and whatnot, but as a business, I worked as a manager of a car dealership. And one day I decided to open up my own car dealership, and I was selling a small batch of Highline cars, right? I had, maybe 7 or 8 Highline cars, a little Lamborghini, a little Ferrari, Bentley. And then I always had my Jeep projects going in the back of the shop because I finally had a space to work on them again. And people would stop by to come take a look. Maybe they're interested in a Bentley or a drop-top Ferrari. And then they'd see the Jeeps in the background, and the conversation kind of started as, every prick on my street's got one of these Ferraris, but nobody's got one of those. And, they're like, is it for sale? And never was until it was for sale. And I sold my first one, second one, third one. Then I stopped buying the Highlines altogether. And my car wash guy turned into a mechanic with me. And my sales guy turned into a mechanic with me. And we just started building trucks faster and faster and faster.
Joe, what a great story that is,
Well, Fort Lauderdale is a great car market, too.
Yeah. Because there's some big bucks down there in Fort Lauderdale. Where do you come up with these ideas? Because this is so unique. I mean, you see customized trucks, but I've never seen one like this.
It's interesting. I'll take any idea I hear, and if it's quasi-feasible, I'll build it once. And then if people like it, I'll put it in production. Like I just did a Lamborghini Urus. I chopped the thing in half, made it a 6-wheeler, put portals on it, jacked it all up. And, it was one of those, can we do it? All right, we'll do it. If somebody else calls about it, now we can do it.
Well, that's one of those, that's a $200,000 vehicle from the get-go.
Right.
Next is a Bentley Bentayga.
Yeah. Whew.
Yep.
Actually,
I've got my hands in my three favorite projects right now is the new electric Hummer. I'm messing around with that one. The Rivian to me is a mind blower because if you ever sat in a Rivian, this thing's 1,000 horsepower. It is quick as can be. It's got 350 miles of range, kind of loaded with technology. But you'd walk right past the car. You'd think it was a Kia or Hyundai, and it just didn't really catch your eye. So that one I've got all torn apart right now, jacked up, put 38-inch tires, 15.5-inch wide, crazy fenders, aggressive hood, roll cage, like a real Marty McFly looking roll cage on there. And I'm so excited to see that truck done.
Joe, have you ever heard of a thing called Lone Star Throwdown?
Negative.
It is a huge custom truck show here, and it's actually a city just north of Houston, Conroe, Texas, within driving distance of all of us here.
Friends of ours manage it. It's one of the bigger truck shows in the nation.
You'll have to look it up. Lone Star Throwdown. You need to bring a couple of your trucks here.
Absolutely.
And that is it. Is it January or February?
February.
End of February.
End of February. Yeah, the
Lone Star Showdown.
No, Throwdown.
Throwdown.
Yeah. Lone Star Throwdown.
They limit the entries for the show vehicles to 2,500, and it sells out within days of the time they open the registration.
You need to be there.
They have vendor space, and they have one year they shut down the cell system, and the cops had to come out because the local airport lost its stuff because there were so many people out there with their phones.
Is that real?
They have a lot of people that come out and go through there.
And, that's one of those that we'd love to connect you with Todd and Lonnie. They are the ones that started it, and it's turned into, trucks from all over North America.
And across from Europe as well.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I do know that all across North America, Canada, these guys with the craziest designs and the money like you would not believe thrown into these trucks.
You'd fit right in.
Yeah, you would fit right in. So you need,
I'm looking at it now. It looks like my crowd. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to ask. Mike's going to buy one for the In Wheel Time Company vehicle. What's Mike going to spend on it? What's Mike going to spend on one of these?
How much has he got?
About a six-wheeler loaded. Let's say a turbo diesel setup. Packed to the gills with power steps, goodies, infrared cameras, you name it, stuff you will and won't use. $150,000.
Oh, that's affordable money.
I can spend that much on a Cadillac Escalade.
Exactly. Has anybody ever told?
My business model is kind of like the first one is going to cost me an arm and a leg because it's going to take me a long time to R&D and figure it out, sort it out. But the next 10 should cost me a fraction because anything I build, I try to put it in production style. Try to write the CAD file so that the CNC and the plasma will spit out the parts ready to go and get rid of a lot of the hand fabricating, make the molds up so that we can get the price down. Because I see a lot of cool trucks out there, but when I see the price tag, I'm like, it puts it out of my range. It becomes a dream car as opposed to something I might be able to convince my wife to let me have in the driveway,
Exactly.
Or take an Escalade and turn it into a six-wheeler.
Anybody ever told you look like Bruce Springsteen?
Never.
I'm waiting for you to break into Pink Cadillac or something, with a guitar over your shoulder. You're one of those kind of cool guys that everybody wants to know. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll tell you, man, I am thoroughly impressed. So what is the website?
So we got Apocalypse 6x6 and SoFloJeeps.com. That's our two. SoFlo Jeeps is the regular stuff. Well, I'll say regular meaning it has four wheels. And Apocalypse 6x6 has everything with the with the extensions and the six wheels and the bigger engines.
Oh yeah.
So pretty wild collection.
So back to what we were asking earlier. So you build them, but if I come to you and say, hey, I want this, you could custom build it out of what you got? I want this little variation or something.
Absolutely. So I've always got a series of chassis. Let's say we're talking about the Hellfire. I've got 6 chassis that have extended, and I've dropped the 392 into them, but I haven't done anything else. And then somebody will come along and say, all right, shoot this thing in the Line X green and give me a brown interior and give me bronze wheels, and that's, we'll run from there.
So So you still customize the custom.
And he does it fast,
Individualized.
and he does it fast enough where you could take it this afternoon down to the beach invasion.
There you go.
Oh,
down there.
yeah.
Yeah, the beach invasion over at Crystal Beach.
I could do that. Yeah.
You know, I like to think that these type of trucks are a very impulsive purchase. And if if from idea to thought, it's 3-4 months apart, you're going to lose interest. You got to be able to put these things together in 3-4 weeks tops.
Yeah. If it's one of these 2-year projects, and
I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, exactly.
well,
And I've been there where, they put me on the Tomorrow program and you just lose interest. You're on to the next thing,
Right,
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Very cool.
Well, I'm looking forward to you sending us the announcement that you're going to be on Motor Trend with your own show, 30-minute weekly, with at least a 6-episode season.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah.
We got to get
One day when I grow up, you never know, man.
And the four of us could guest star.
Or get a hold of us if you're going to come to Lone Star Throwdown. We'd
That's
love to
yeah.
join you out there.
Yeah.
That's the promise. It looks like it's end of February. I'll definitely be there, and I'll definitely reach out to you guys. I can't wait.
That'd be great.
Please do.
That would be wonderful.
It's a pleasure talking to you, Joe, and we really appreciate you spending the time with us on this Saturday.
Same, fellas. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll talk to you soon. How fun.
What a monster collection.
How do you
of
find
vehicles.
these things? These are good. I like these.
Well, I don't know
It's
how
magic.
you find people like that. It's kind of like, I want to be that guy. I mean, that's kind of when you're
Well,
a
yeah.
kid, you think about, I want to get up and I want to make this and I want to build this.
I
He
thought
did
you
it.
wanted to be Jimmy Buffett, not Bruce Springsteen.
And what do you-
No,
80
that's after when I get old. I want to do that.
80,000
I'm not ready
square
yet.
foot facility. That's not shabby.
Not at all.
79 technicians or people that work for
Everybody has 100 square feet.
it. Yeah. And, kicking 80 a month out.
It's a lot.
Wow.
Let's do This Week in Auto History, shall we?
Okay, in 1847,
My birthday.
William Clayton invented the odometer. During his trip across the plains from Missouri to Utah, he was assigned to record the number of miles his group traveled each day. Clayton, with the help of a mathematician, tried counting the revolutions of a wagon wheel and computing the day's distance by multiplying that count times the wheel's circumference. That's the odometer we all know today, but the first thing in wood was the original odometer. In 1916, Charles Kettering and Edward Deeds agreed to sell Dayton Engineering Laboratories Company, famously known as Delco, to General Motors, and William Durant purchased Delco for $9 million. Delco was responsible for several innovations in the automobile electrical system, including battery ignition systems and the first self-starter. In 1947, B.F. Goodrich of Akron, Ohio, you got to remember Jeff's our tire guy, announces that it developed a tubeless tire.
Yep.
And quite a technological innovation that would make automobiles safer and more efficient. And then in 1958, during a goodwill trip through Latin America, Vice President Richard Mulhouse Nixon, driving his Cadillac, is attacked by an angry crowd of Venezuelans as he was driving through Caracas. The incident was a dramatic highlight of the trip, characterized by the Latin American anger over some of America's Cold War policies. And then in 2007, Cerebus Capital Management, a private equity firm, acquired an 80% interest in Chrysler from Daimler AG for only $7.4 billion. Daimler had bought Chrysler in 1998 for $36 billion. So Cerebus got a heck of a deal on their money on about 30 cents on the dollar.
What a nightmare that turned out to be, though. Oh.
Yeah,
You know.
well, and you think the combination of cars that they built, the Chrysler 300 and the Charger were actually the brainchild of Mercedes or Daimler engineers.
Well, those cars, okay.
Yeah.
And they've weathered the storm, man.
Sure have.
Yeah. And so there, and the underpinnings also of that car is the Challenger.
Challenger.
Mm-hmm. The
Been
two-door
quite
version.
successful.
Yep. Very successful. Yeah. What else do we have?
News headlines.
I don't have any. I did them
Hey,
all.
do you know
Well, let's talk about my favorite subject.
uninsured drivers? That's
We
mine.
didn't talk about this the other day.
Who's first? Is it you or Jeff?
Go to Jeff.
All right. Out of the 50 states, and this is by population of uninsured motorists. Now, this comes to us from a couple of years ago, so it's changed. A lot of different people in the United States right now. But Texas is the number one for uninsured motorists of 17.18% of the population.
Wow.
And that is over 4 million people in the state of Texas do not have insurance. Oklahoma's second, Alaska's third. And
How can that be, though? Because you can't get your car registered without it being insured.
Well, you can't buy a car without having insurance. So it's a lot of nefarious things. But anyways, we made the top list.
Well, there's something to be proud of.
There you go. It's all right here.
Now, if you can keep it short, you got
Well, you gave me the article last week about Mary Barra being ranked second in pay package, worth she's paid $29 million in 2022, according to an SEC filing on Friday. Barra earned 0.5% less in 2021, but was the highest paid of the Detroit 3 CEOs in the 8th consecutive year. As GM sales and profits decline, her pay goes up. What's wrong with this picture?
Okay.
You're not a Mary Barra fan?
No. Well, she was an appointee from the Obama administration in 2009. Everybody knew it. As GM collapsed, she was an Obama appointee as General
Why did
Motors
GM collapse?
Because
Bad management.
people in her position were not car people, and she's not a car person. As much as she says she is, she's not a car person.
There's actually a TV show similar to what Mary Barrett does, and it's I don't think it's off the air now, but it was about an automotive company and their CEO and how they went about designing cars. It was nonsense.
Yep.
Mike's got some.
Speaking of EVs,
45 seconds.
EVs, people in the state of Texas, along with 30 other states, are now going to have to pay more to have an EV. As of September the 1st, if you buy a new EV, you're going to have to pay an extra $400 to register your vehicle. If you already have an EV and you go to renew your license plate, you're going to have to pay an extra $200 to drive it in the state of Texas because they don't pay for gas taxes to help fix the roads. So now they're going to employ a tax on ownership.
Time now for a quick break. We'll be right back. You're on the N-Wheel Time Car Talk Show on iHeartRadio. Everyone at the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex in Katy, thank you for participating in the best cruise in around and look forward to seeing you again. You'll hear about the next cruise in date right here on N-Wheel Time. Next time you're in the West Houston Energy Corridor area, be sure and stop in at the original Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex at I-10 and Highway 6 or the Katy location on the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard. When passing through Beaumont or College Station, stop in and have Lupi's award-winning beef fajitas and frozen margaritas. There's always a celebration at Lupi Tortilla. Lupi Tortilla founder Stan Holt and his wife Sheila are winning racers on the NHRA drag racing circuit and have a collection of hot rods and classics that everyone appreciates. Look for them at the next Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise In. The date will be announced soon and will once again be held at the Lupi Tortilla Tex-Mex on 99 and Kingsland Boulevard, just south of I-10 and Katy. We'll give you all the details right here on the In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show and online. Donations benefit God's Garage. We'll see you then. You own a car you love. Well, why not let Gulf Coast Auto Shield protect it? Houstonian John Gray invites you to his state-of-the-art facility to introduce you to his specialist team of auto enthusiasts. We promise you'll be impressed. Whether you're looking to massage your original paint to a like-new appearance, apply a ceramic coating, install a paint protection film, nano-ceramic window tint, or new windshield protection called ExoShield, Gulf Coast Auto Shield is where Houston's car people go. Curbed your wheels? Instead of buying new, why not have them repaired? How about a professionally installed radar detector? Gulf Coast Auto Shield does that too. Get a peek inside the shop and look at the services offered by getting online and heading to gcautoshield.com. Better yet, stop by their facility at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway, and get a personal tour. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is your place to go for all things exterior. Call them today, 832-930-5655 or gcautoshield.com. The award-winning In-Wheel Time Car Talk Show is available on the most popular podcast channels out there in 30-minute episodes. We realize our 3-hour live show can be difficult to catch in its entirety, So now you can listen every day to a convenient, fresh 30-minute episode. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Audible, along with a dozen more. In Wheel Time has the most informative automotive guest interviews and new car reviews, along with popular features including Conrad's Car Clinic and This Week in Auto History, along with automotive news headlines. Our live broadcast airs every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central on InWheelTime.com, the iHeart app, and on YouTube. Be sure to say hello when we're broadcasting from the Tailpipes and Tacos Cruise-In, Autorama, and the Houston Auto Show, among others. Now, it's easier than ever to hear about all things automotive all week long. You're invited to join fellow car enthusiasts in becoming part of the ever-growing In Wheel Time Car Talk family. Don't forget those 30-minute podcast episodes on your favorite podcast channel.
And next week's show is going to include Mar's explanation of where he bought his car cover from and where he didn't buy it from, and all because of one S.
And he's going to set somebody up for an interview.
That's a wrap for this week's In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. When you're online, check out our Facebook page. Give us a like if you will, please. Tell your friends about us and share our junk. You'll get Conrad's Unicorn Hunting features, along with all things automotive all week long, including new car reviews, upcoming events, cruise-ins, racing events, and other informative and entertaining car and truck goodies. You can find the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app, and be sure to catch In Wheel Time Car Talk on our live video stream on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com every Saturday, 8 to 11 Central. Daily 30-minute podcasts are available from over a dozen of the most popular podcast providers. The In Wheel Time Chief Engineer is David Ainsley. Our Marketing Advertising Advisor and Video Technical Director is We Need More, Jeff Zekin.
Yep.
For Booking Agent and Podcast Philanderer, Mike Mars.
Yes.
Along with Mr. Know-It-All, his royalty, King Conrad DeLong. I'm Don Armstrong. Next week, we're live again from the In Wheel Time Studios, Saturday, May 27th, on all of our In Wheel Time Car Talk outlets, right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network, 8 to 11 a.m. Central Time. Have a great weekend. Go cut the grass. So long for now.